Hello, and welcome to Spotlight, the official podcast of Grapple. I'm Benno.
I'm JP.
And I'm Matty.
The three of us here, which means it must be a WWE, as we got you on, Matty. Got a Backlash to talk about today. Pay-per-view in France. A few other news and notes on the WWE side. Something about
come on, get with it.
Contract. Some bloke called Gabe Steveson we've got to talk about. Don't know what that's about. Bit of AEW to talk about. TNA Impact. We're going all around the world, Matty. Glad to have you there. Yeah. Is there any of those subjects particularly you're excited here to chat with us?
I watched one match from Under Siege. Can we talk about that first?
We can do if you want. We're big TNA fans at the minute after the weekend.
We are, yeah. But come on, let's get it out the way. I know you've been waiting for this all. Did you see the news? Come on. Look how cheddar he is. Look.
You're saying I was right on the internet, mate. I mean, I feel like I should tell you. I wouldn't come here and celebrate and do like a victory lap or anything like that. That would be unbecoming, Matty. I don't know what you got me down for.
That'll be on your tombstone, that, mate. That'll be on your grave, fucking engraved in your fucking headstone. That you love it, don't you? But no, go on, let me take you. You were right. I've got to take the L. I'm a fair man.
I wasn't, mate. I was wrong. Man. I should have bet on Gabe Steveson never having a televised match. That's what I should have bet on. Not me. I go, yeah, we'd have argued the toss. Yes, I'm so we're talking the legendary bet, Matty, between me and you that never got settled. It's like the one we used to have back in the day, JP, when it was something to do with you need a hat if Great O'Khan did a job or something. I don't know how that one was ever. I think that the pandemic got in the way of that one. Whereas this one, we just never. I could have had anything, Matty. I could have had the world. That's how convinced I was. I knew I was right. I knew that cunt was never getting on telly. He's just like from the moment he appeared on TV. Like I've never seen somebody have less obvious poise, less obvious presence. He didn't have anything, mate. Didn't have size, didn't have ability. But he's going to make it on pay-per-views, you said, I thought.
In my defence, I'd never seen it myself. I just thought the way...
Spoken like a true Fed fan. No, big Gorillas of Destiny fan.
They just push him because of the credentials of the Olympic gold and stuff like that. But I was this close, JP, and I feel like you here, and I can't blame Triple H here because he was actually going to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania if Triple H didn't have his personal...
He was?
Triple H was going to wrestle Steveson at WrestleMania 38. That was going to happen.
He wasn't.
You know, he was. That was going to happen.
He wasn't. It wasn't going to happen. Like, it clearly wasn't going to happen. If he couldn't get on Raw or SmackDown, he wasn't getting on WrestleMania. It wasn't happening, mate. It never happened and didn't happen.
Well, you can say it now because you've won, I suppose, Benno. You know what I mean? But
I said it at the start, mate. That's why I won. I've been right from the start. Saw it, mate. I can call him. I see this.
I want to believe that Triple H story is real, just to see what it would. Just to imagine in my head what it would have been like. A very raw, uncoordinated Gable Steveson just chucking him around the ring, and whose heart is there just beating like a fucking grenade, just waiting for it to go off in there. I mean, it would have been like, Jesus Christ, like proper like kind of eggshells wrestling.
Have you ever seen a Shawn winner though? Look at him, JP. He's fucking laughing this up, isn't he? Look at him.
I'm having a great time.
But the thing is, Ben, to be fair, I'm a fair man. If you can think of it, I know we don't want to say too much, but if we ever do any shows per se coming up this year, maybe we'll think of a forfeit that we can do, in the near future. So I'm all for that. Right.
I'll put it to the patrons. Think of a forfeit. Okay, something we can do. I reckon at the live show.
Well, there you go.
Good natured, something fun.
Yeah, of course.
Let's have a little think what we can do. At the same time, like I'm glad I was right, and I'm surprised like anyone thought there was anything to him because, like I say, it was just every report you ever heard was he had a bad attitude, he was not taken to it, like. And obviously, there's the very serious real life stuff, the allegations against him. There were so many reasons, like, it just wasn't happening. And I think the thing that called me was, like, even if you were like, well, Vince would still want to push him anyway. He didn't have any of the attributes Vince would once, like I say.
I think Triple H was more behind him. to be fair.
It's a bit like we're going to be reviewing the Sandman Dark Side of the Ring later, and it's a bit like Paul Heyman getting his hooks in Kurt Angle and ECW, just being like, oh, it's this fucking famous real wrestler type of thing. There's got to be something there, when there never ever was. At the same time as well, I'm glad the cunt got fucked over. I'm glad. Apparently, what wasn't the story, JP, that he was supposed to he could have qualified for the Olympics or something like that? They cut him like 3 days earlier or something daft, and they fucked him over there as well. Got what he deserved. Gobshite, love it. Matty has to wear a t-shirt with Benno's face on it for All In and All In. That could work. Matty has to cover the G1. Daily podcast where Matty covers the G1. No, I want that.
I was thinking that.
John Pollock style.
I'll do it like in modern style, though, like a TikTok 30-second coverage. That's what you're getting on me on the G1.
It takes 3 seconds, mate. You can rub it in next time. If I'm ever wrong on the internet, you can mention it. I don't know what they will call me.
Oh, well, you know what I mean. You got your defence in that you didn't know who Bumby was there, so I've got to see what you'd be like if you got something wrong.
Losing my hip hop card here, aren't I?
I know, you know.
Can't say only any UGK albums, to be fair, to fight my own corner, but yeah, maybe Matty needs to acknowledge Benno as his tribal chief. Could have an acknowledgement ceremony.
I'd watch the G1 than that, to be fair.
Maybe I'll come out to Roman's music this time.
That'd hurt me, that one, Ben.
Put your ideas in the chat. Throw them in the Discord as well. Matty has to eat a full plate of Chinese with veg in it. That'd be too cruel, Matty.
That is testing me now. Come on, mate.
But I was going to say, we've seen a lot of each other this weekend. Matty obviously did the Time show over the weekend, filled in for JP. JP's gigantic shoes on that show. You were massively missed, JP. You do a hell of a job on that. Deserve all respect for the work. I was struggling to keep up with the lads and keep the videos on screen and such. But it's a seamless process. Once I've edited it, so it'll be up for public consumption at the weekend. But of course, patrons have got early access to that. The uncensored version. Did I pass the test, Matty? Did I manage to keep up with the lads? Took some. But you surprised? I knew a bit about the soaps back in the day. You knew a little bit about what was going on there. To be fair, JP, there was a point where in me and Matty's friendship, where Matty I had to pick Matty up off the floor once when he found out I watched films. So that tells you what he used to think of me. I think Matty thought I was a living, breathing Brit-Res machine, and all I ever did was watch Brit-Res. Like, we were in the pub once, and I'm like, Benno, you watch films? Like, I don't know what you take me for. But there was a point in my life, Matty, I was keeping up with the films and TV and stuff. Maybe less so the sport, but I'll do my best.
Next time you're on, you definitely handle the sport pillar, Ben. But no, as you said, JP, you can never fill your shoes on that show, mate. But he's done the best job possible. No, Ben, I'm giving both.
I can say that.
You done amazing, mate. For the first time coming on, you handled everything well. Seamless, mate. You did. No, you
JP show.
Great time. It was a great time. It was.
I'm buzzing to hear you on that as well. So I'm so looking forward to that.
Any 98 thoughts from you? You didn't get in, JP, that you would have thrown in if you were there? The bit I felt bad, to be fair, but jokes aside, like, it was a big year for Arsenal, and I was like, this was a moment for JP. Mate. Even I remembered that year, that month, April 98, FIFA 99 came out, and I had that one with Bergkamp on the front. Like, yous were running the world at that point in 98, mate. So we missed you there, especially.
You would have heard a lot of the game that always sticks out for me, and I think it is April 99, is Arsenal away at Man United when Mark Overmars scores. And it was a 12 o'clock kickoff. So, like, effectively, because I was 18 years old at university, I just went on the piss. And I kind of did for like the guts of a month, like, really, for that as well, because obviously we won the double as well at the same time. So that was the thing that immediately came to mind for that. But
not Titanic, mate, no. Yeah, my heart will go on.
I was tearing on the iceberg in the cinema.
JP, do us a favour because you were on the show. Give me your thoughts on Titanic in a sentence or two, please. Go
on. Like dog shit, really, if I was to sum it up in a word. I absolutely fucking hate Titanic. I hate it. Absolutely. The pint of Guinness. If I see a bad pint of Guinness, I'm upset. I see the worst in this. It's borderline racist, is what I'll say it is for that as well. It's too bloody long. I was laughing. I was cheering it on. Everyone around me fucking sobbing like we were at a funeral. And I was like, fuck this. For all we know, this bloke who's apparently real, he could have been shooting children in order to get off that bloody boat. We don't know. Just made up bollocks about him. Now there's people visiting his fucking grave. Which how does that work? Surely he's at the bottom of the. Well, he's not there anymore, obviously. So that's the position for you.
I'm so glad I asked.
I hated it. Absolutely hated it. There you go.
Can I just say as well, Matty, I saw my mum on Sunday. Like, for some, I was mentioning about, because I got her to send me over that picture of me in 1998. She was like, "Oh, what was that for?" So I explained what we did. She was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah, Titanic was #1. Do you remember taking it?" She was like, "Oh yeah, we took the whole family to see that." And I was like, "Yeah, I remember." And she's like, "Did you tell them that you wouldn't sit with us?" And I was like, "Yes, I did, Mum." And she went, "And did you tell them though that you ate all the sweets we gave you still though, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, fair enough, I did." I was making out on the podcast. I had this terrible time. And I was like, "Oh, actually, I didn't actually have that bad a time, to be fair." Glad you thanked me. Thanks, Mum.
It weren't just that, JP. It weren't just the movie itself. What about the song that accompanied it, mate?
Too,
was you a fan of that?
No, I wasn't a fan of it. It was very much like I'd gone through this experience with Brian Adams and everything I do. It's like, all right, the joke's over. Who fucking buying this? How is this working? Because that's how it was. You bought physical copies from physical shops like
blindly,
Walmart.
in hope that it was good.
It was happening again, and it was like, "Nah, this is awful." Like, fool me what? Like, this is just, and it was just all over the radio as well. It was in dark times for that. Which, fortunately, the Burkamp, Nicholas Anelka
cushioned the blow well, JP.
Was the MC #1 as well?
Vieira. Oh yeah,
that helped.
Yeah,
that helped. He got came out. That helped too. There's some good points there. But yeah, I think I was a proper trip back to like my days of being on Paramount Text. We talk a little bit about it as well. But like I say, you guys do the heavy lifting. It's your show. But I was proud to guest for one time. I'd be on there. So a boyhood dream came true, Matty. So I thank you for allowing that. Maybe that's the forfeit. I was allowed to come on time, but it was a good time. So yeah, it's no pun intended. Available now for patrons on early access, and then the censored version will be going on the YouTube once the YouTube algorithm has at it at the weekend as well. But if you want the uncensored version, you know where you can get it, patreon.com/grapple. And yeah, it's not the only thing we're doing this weekend as well. We recorded the LAX vs OG show as well. Very proud of that one, Matty. That one's out there as well. Yeah, it's got again, as we said, a show that happened or a timeline that happened when we were already recording this podcast in the pre-Matty years. I've still got that song going through my head, the OG's theme. That was great time. Proper hip hop, that mate.
Yeah, that was like one of the most fun shows. Like all
shit.
of us were just absolutely loving it, JP. Like going through the best video that has been put up on YouTube, 90 minutes, JP. Hardly any matches, mate. It's just backstage
on the TNA YouTube
angles. It's fucking it pieces it together. It pieces it together so well, mate. Honestly, it's how good's King though, Benno?
Shit.
Yeah, unreal. That's what's so funny about it. Cause it's Eddie Kingston's like for someone like you, Matty, who hadn't really seen Kingston up until that point. It was your introduction to him, and then I watched it. I was like, oh fuck, I forgot he had this side to him, like the evil bastard side to him. But yeah, right up your street, JP, talking the merits and that thereof of cinematic wrestling. Like it's basically one big Lucha Underground sketch. But again, But as we were saying, if you create the rules of the universe and you stick to them, it works. And that was something that works. Honestly, that I think it's. I bet it's Gareth Kidney that put the playlist together that's on the TNA YouTube. It's fucking 90 minutes that you will not regret. You might regret the first 10 minutes because it's got randomly Scott Steiner and Eli Drake on it. But once you get past that and you actually get to Kingston on screen, honestly, it's like watching a HBO show, mate. Or maybe not HBO, maybe FX. Maybe an FX show.
It's definitely FX.
It's like that level. It's like a notch below. Showtime, maybe. It's fucking, it's honestly unbelievable. I thought we'd just be like ironically enjoying it. I watched it back and I literally had some of the most fun I've had rewatching anything for this podcast and just talking about it. Hopefully that came out like the joy we were having, just loving all those backstage segments from King and Carlos.
Yeah, I'm kind of gutted that like I wasn't on it for this as well because like I mean I've started listening to this and it's just like tremendous stuff. Hearing about like all the times you saw him in the UK as well, and like
King.
You know,
Matty's mate King.
Yeah, exactly.
Some great pictures, Benno. Your one's a cracking shot. Like
I tried to get him into acting, but he wasn't listening. We both had words with him.
But JP, once you get up to the five butters and stuff like that, Benno, how good's it though? All the shouts. Honestly,
remember we talked in real time, JP, like the Rich. We started by laughing at the Richie segment, and then we were all like, oh, "This might be good. This actually might be good storytelling." Proper, like honestly, and the tag titles are important important. That's the other thing. Gareth, you wouldn't expect Gareth to be into it, but those little things get as daft as it all is. What's the most important thing in this crime family universe where they've got mysterious shipments and there's deaths happening off screen and there's mob bosses? It's obviously the TNA tag team titles. That's obviously the most important thing, because they make it out like, well, you got the TNA tag belts, then you make the money, don't you? Because you're the tag champions. It's like, it puts that for little things, you know. Boxes ticked. That's what we kept saying. I's dotted, T's crossed.
Honestly to God, like, from listening to this, and I think any time I get a chance, like listening to you two and Gareth recording is always tremendous audio, and this one's completely up there as well. I'm just gutted I haven't seen all of the playlist. I'm just going to have to watch this.
JP, you've got to.
Where I'm going to fit it in, but I think,
and typically, of course, the playlist is 90 minutes, and we spend 2.5 hours talking about it. That's just how good it is. You know, we couldn't help ourselves. We had to dissect it all, you know, properly. Oh yeah, brilliant. It's like Ewan says there, one of the best storylines TNA ever did. So yeah, if you want to hear us enthusiastically talk about that, that's up. And if you want to hear about us not enthusiastically talking about something, well, maybe not all of us, got a corker up this weekend as well. A show we're calling Paul. Welcome back, JP. WC all years. We're going to be looking at Triple H in the year 2000. The playlist for that will be up in the coming days. You've got a private copy of it already. Matty did pulled the angles together. I pulled a lot of the matches together. We've worked together on this one, Matty.
Yeah.
I don't know if JP have a good time with his
work. You know what?
Hey, I loved him in 2000. I did. I liked him more than Titanic.
You nailed it, because what did you say last time you were on? It's a villain origin story. I love that show. You know, when it comes to Paul, but hopefully you might see past the hatred, which I don't know if you will, but hopefully you will,
I'm not sure.
to enjoy some of this work, JP.
It's going to be a struggle. I'm willing to give it a go as always, but I know the fundamental conclusion. Yeah, it's just going to come back and just think, and he ruined so much wrestling today as well. And I'll be slagging him off in a bit as well later on in here, like deserved on it. But I say enjoyable. It always is. It's those kind of hate watches, which sums up a lot of the Patreon content that we do. Like there's stuff that we
don't always have fun,
and there's stuff like just, if you want an idea of that, Double Dwayne in there with the old. You want to hear mine and Matty's thoughts on Southland Tales, Halloween Havoc 2000. There we go. But no,
put ourselves.
This is going to be fantastic though. For this, I am looking forward to doing it, and I'm just looking forward to a bit of hate watching as well. So that's just good for the system.
We'll answer the question: was Triple H ever good? And to answer Ewan's question in the chat, this is, I would say, is IWC era where I think you were allowed to like Triple H in 2000. I think, or at least that's what I thought as a sort of a new smart marker around those times. So we'll see if it holds up. LX versus OGs did. This I'm a bit more 50-50 on Matt. I haven't seen a couple of the clips already, but I know it's going to be a good and detailed chat. This is like we said, this is like the next level deep cut. It's like those the Sean show or the Steve show where it's like we don't know where mixtape starts and a deep cut begins. It's the extra. It's the top level ones, mate. It's the single name means it's a big show.
But you know what I've realised over the past few weeks though, I'm being Gareth off. It's you arguing with yourself about what mixtape is better deep cuts. We're just saying back these days. I know it does. I love it. But this is a proper, as you say, a proper slice of that time, isn't it? The whole year and stuff like that. And I can't wait to watch it just for the reactions of everyone on the show as well. I'm looking forward to that so much.
Definitely. So that's all coming up in that. If you want to hear any of everything we just talked about, as well as early access to stuff like Time and Retro, which came out on early access last week as well, and is up on the public feed. Get it all patreon.com/Grapple and youtube.com/@Grapple. But on that note, we should get into what we've got to talk about this week. And as I said, Matty, we've got the big WWE topic out the way, so there's not much left really now. Apparently there was a show at the weekend, Backlash, I think it was called, on Saturday night. Me and you did the preview of it on the weekend show. I was very down on the card. You weren't. I wouldn't say you were high on the card, but I think you were a little bit more, let's see how it plays out that I was. And I think what we ended up with was a card where I think the first thing you've got to talk about is the crowd, because it was very, obviously the thing that stands out, pictured there behind JP there, is that Lyon crowd, which were going mental. SmackDown was on, wasn't it, at the time we were doing the weekend show on Friday, so we were getting a little bit of an inkling of what it was going to be like on Saturday. But I would say, apart from some of the questions you got at the presser, to your point, JP, I think Triple H should be wishing they were out there every month. Fuck me, this was something. Like, I got to be honest, there was a point where I'm not going to say it got annoying, but like the 2 count thing, like that, on the borderline, that it was up there with one fall in British wrestling circles. But like, other than that, like, they were overwhelmingly just like lifting the show to like what was I'd stand by my words, it was a mediocre show going in, elevated to something completely different. And I don't know if you watched this live on Saturday night, JP, but it was perfectly timed as well. 6 p.m. on a Saturday night for a big WWE show done by R8. It was almost perfect in a lot of ways, if only the card was any good. But it didn't really matter in the end, I don't think.
No, I don't think it mattered at all. My big takeaway from this and was more or less, this felt like this was like a test show. It was like, okay, we're going to basically hand you out a bog standard glorified house show card, really. We'll give you one title change as a salt, but really you're getting like a kind of standard house show. And they just like took the opportunity for it. I would be annoyed if they were there every week. I'd be livid. I've written on here, like I've said, one of my notes was like, incredible crowd, but would have completely done my head in after the second match. It'd be like that time when we were at WXW and there was the dueling chants for Bobby Guns, and Ilya, and it was like, this has just gone far too far. And I felt like, was it Absolute Mondeur? Is that what he always says? The commentator. I bet he wishes he'd fucking never had as well. That'll haunt him till his death on there. But they were incredible. Like, we'll talk about like what are the big sort of like takeaways from there. It's just like, at times, go to places where people are starved for wrestling if you want hot fucking crowds, because Jesus Christ, they've earned the right to a stadium show, put it that way.
Stadium over the road, Paul was saying in the press as well, among other less nice
Irish bloke plays there. Centre off, apparently on his way to Everton. Jake O'Brien, 6'6", and Lacazette, who left Arsenal to go back to his hometown. I was disappointed he wasn't in the front row.
Player.
Or that there wasn't a tribute to Roland Barthes while we were there as well. There's a picture of him.
Sure doing. Were you regretting not making the trip there, Matty, over to France?
No, it was like you guys said. The fans were just, you've got to start with them because they just literally carried the show. And as you say, I always thought, because I did do a bit of defense on the weekend show, I did think for more or less, even though it was only 5 matches, they did build them up quite well on TV. But that was my issue going in, that it was only 5 matches.
Yeah.
But then I was saying on the weekend show, you'll get your, your adverts for like seeing, come visit Lyon, and then you'd have your advert profiling specific wrestlers. But there was none of that. As you say, this felt like a breeze. There was none of it. And it ended before the 3 hours. It flew by like that. So I kind of ate my words in the fact that I would have still liked maybe one more match, but at the same time, you didn't really feel it. So yeah, it was a win-win from it. Situation as well for me.
Yeah, and I like to say, I think this is obviously a tactic this year and into next year. And obviously, talked about doing maybe Italy next, doing a stadium show next, something like that. It was the thing that carried them last year. We've even you, Matty, have kind of gone with us on the idea that maybe after SummerSlam or so, things really dropped off pay-per-view wise.
He did
last year, but in that period where they were doing international stuff like Puerto Rico, it was carrying the shows. Same things happening here. Saudi Arabia at the end of the month, but then after that, there's the Clash at the Castle. Then after that, they're in Berlin, aren't they? Then they're in Toronto. Like they're all over again this year. So it always obviously helps. So that was the major positive of the show, and I think I suppose we'll go to the Cody stuff later because he definitely got a hero's welcome, and I did like the AJ chant, the phenomenal thing. It felt like that always worked out. And he said the word was said phenomenal on the SmackDown tape, and they just burst into it, don't they? Like just automatically. A lot of the Ogdens can't. I don't think the Ogdens can be trained like that, you know. It's only them.
That was more of a monologue though than a chant, wasn't it? That was a long one. That.
An arena of Ogdens, I think, is what this was. And, you know, is that good or bad? Who knows? There'd be a fucking queue at the bar if it was, wouldn't there? But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. As far as the main event goes, it wasn't really the most newsworthy thing. We've got to talk the big arrival, Matty, of the big independent name that we've all been waiting to arrive in WWE. You know, this entire time. You know, obviously when Rock and Roman put the family tree up on the wall, we were all looking at the tree, looking at the names, going, "Oh wow, okay, yeah, there's some names there that you could absolutely imagine being in WWE. Maybe it's an Easter egg." And yeah, you know, we've all talked about, you know, the very talented individual we expected it to be, and of course, the man that appeared on screen was not fucking Jacob Fatu. It was Tonga Loa. Yeah. He's not even on the family tree. Him and Tama Tonga weren't on there. People have acted like they're shocked. To be honest, I think we said it on the show. We were like, I mean, what's his contract saying? Like, if you're bringing in one and not the other, seems a bit odd. He disappeared from New Japan for the last month or so. No one noticed, which is probably an indictment. Like, if you go on Cage Match, he hasn't worked for them since that fucking shit show. Was it with Evil, was it? Or Yano? That fucking eating contest.
Oh, eating, I've seen that. Match. I've seen bits of that, yeah.
Yeah, it was Evil, wasn't it? Like, fucking, yeah, nobody seemed to notice that, you know why? Because he's fucking shit. But it didn't shock me at all. It only shocked me that it was him and not Jacob, although, you know, with Jacob's charges, I did question whether he'd be able to get into France. But is this where we go to you, Matty? And you're like, you know, always big Grills of Destiny
fan.
To be fair, on the weekend show, I did say name a good Tama Tonga match, and you actually brought up some Gorillas of Destiny. Was it the Madison Square Garden show, the ROH tag, or some other one?
The Briscoes, they had like a ladder war with the Briscoes and another couple with the Briscoes that were good, you know what I mean? But no, it's one of them, isn't it? Like, you're just going to say you can throw a bloodline, throw anyone in the bloodline, and I'm going to like them, but I'll just
don't even need to be Samoan at this point.
wait there, let me just start with it.
Camacho.
Wait there. No, that's all fine, and I've seen all the you know, the gifs on Twitter, them chops he was given a card there that even at the time I was like, they can't be real. That must be like a comedy spot. I've seen him fluff the 619, and to be fair, there's been a shot from Backlash. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Someone videoed it from the crowd where he actually missed the spot. JP coming from under the ring.
The ref dragged himself out.
Took the bump himself. And what happened if he wasn't there? It would have looked stupid, but good job he actually was there. So we'll give him a bit of credit for actually standing up straight. But after all that said,
high praise, JP.
After all that said,
mate. If we said the great Ali, that would be awful.
He's here now. He deserves a fresh start. That's all I'm going to say.
No, he doesn't.
If he cocks up and if he shits the bed, I'll be the first to come in and go, guys, everyone's right. I will be. But he gets a fresh start from here on in. Tama Tonga's done well for himself, and I know Tama's always been better than Tonga Loa. But let's just see where it goes. He mightn't last long. It might. Let's just see. That's all I'm saying.
He might learn to wrestle. He might get some charisma. He might. He's like 40.
Straighten up performance center.
he's crap. No, he's crap.
No,
Tama Tonga, I'm willing to.
I'm saying he's good.
I'm willing to. Like, Tama Tonga is someone who, like, you know, has improved. Maybe not to the extent that the New Japan diehards would have had you believe, JP. And they're all walking that back now. Apparently, Tama Tonga's shit now. But, you know, he did get better. Tonga Loa never got better. Like, come on. How many of those shite GOD matches did we have to sit through, JP? Or did I end up in Greg's for? Like, I'm already looking at, like, are the Greg's open at 1 in the morning on a Friday night? That one in town that used to be 24 hours. I need that to come back now, Matty, for SmackDowns every week. Jesus Christ. He's terrible. No, he's terrible. There's no redeeming factor.
No, I'm not saying he's good, though. I want that on record. I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying let's see how he gets on. That's all.
He's worse than Hikuleo. And it's not like Hikuleo's good. I mean,
Hikuleo's like 3 years in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's that.
Yeah.
It's like a free pass. Just for shits and giggles, he had to live in Portsmouth for a year, which just seems like a funny, like, little side note to this bloke who's going to end up joining the Bloodline, as he will in this. But he's awful, Tonga Loa. However, in all of this, I'm thinking, okay, my gripes with New Japan are many, one of which was generally them and that stable, because they were so stale. Like they offered nothing. He's not there. Great, good. I don't need to see him. Like they are forced to, and I don't think they'll be able to do worse. They'll try, because that's New Japan's style at times. It's like very much a hold my beer promotion. But
has Yujiro got any Samoan heritage that we know of, JP?
Well,
related to Haku or something? We could get him shipped over.
He was in Bullet Club. That'd be good enough reason for signing. Farley, Chase Owens, like one half of the New Japan Tag Team Champions as well for that. Because they're going to be but this is the only storyline really where they can fall upwards into. That's the thing. Through virtue of like the lottery of birth and their dad being Haku. And it sets up a kind of like very obvious direction. And they can do punch kick stuff. I mean, the impression I got from this tag match as well, that Tama Tonga's going to be putting in a shift. He recognises
he done well in this match. He did.
There's an opportunity. Well. And that bump he took from the brain
don't think he had a choice, but yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I think Randy and KO were like, yeah,
sign up to take that move, Ben, deserves a bit of a thing. But I mean, if we're jumping into the match, sorry if we're going there, but I thought
I want to slag off the bloodline a bit more first, mate. Are we not at the end? Are we not at the NWO stage? No, just quick, genuinely. We're not at the point where we're just throwing t-shirts on Scott Norton and Vincent.
Well, like, it's a part of the overall story. What's going to happen?
But you could tell a story with better parts, couldn't you?
You could, but who else are you going to get in? And I'm not saying he's great. He's going to come in, though, isn't he? There's going to be 4 of them against the OG bloodline. That's what's going to happen.
Even Jacob Fatu's shit, brother. Even the younger, what's the younger one called?
Lance, is it? Lance.
Yeah. Lance and I.
Yeah.
Like, at least there's a future. Genuinely, hello.
But these are brought in, Ben, to obviously...
His contract's up in June.
He's going to come in then, isn't he, JP?
Oh, yeah, he is.
You think he will. But
is there a point where you're just like, all right, enough, lads. You can't you bring in like the uncle who comes to the barbecue. You know what I mean? It's like fucking. Who was the one that was in Legacy? Bring him back.
Manu.
Bring Manu back. Yeah. Like there's a tipping point here, mate.
No,
I'm saying, Manu still alive? I hope he is.
This is all part of. Obviously, it might just be this, as JP said. They might just be brought in for this one big feud, one big match, and that's done with it. And I'll be fine with that because this is all a smaller part of the bigger story that's going to happen when Roman, the Usos get back together, Sami Zayn. If people don't like that, then fair enough. But that's a part of the story that's going to happen. And I'm obviously, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see Roman and the Usos in that big babyface moment get back together and see what happens. And they will be a small part of that, and they might be done after that. Who knows?
I think you and something Bloodline Tribal and Bloodline Chief. Like, I think that is
and it'll bleed into the Rock as well, won't it? The Rock will be behind Solo and all that, of course.
If I'm doing predictions, and I could be well off the mark, I see Jacob Fatu coming in as basically the new Solo Sikoa of like the mental, slightly littler bloke as he takes. And then
I hope he's still coming in, JP.
Team.
Yeah, I hope this isn't like some kind of change of plan. I hope it's still happening, Jen. Because how many weeks ago was it now? It was rumoured he was coming in, and it's all gone.
Once again, I said that at the time. Meltzer said a week, so it's a month, really. So we'll be in soon.
Survivor Series, War Games, Bloodline match.
JP? The moment they put like Roman standing there with the Usos, and potentially, if you
Sami Zayn
or something like that. Yeah. Obviously, that's going to be a moment you guys are gonna lap up, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it at the moment as well. I'll be made up never to have to watch another singles Jimmy Uso match, so we all win there too. It's just a shame. Imagine that, the monkey's paw, Usos versus God.
That's gonna happen on a SmackDown or a
can't imagine anything worse.
That'll happen.
I wish for, lads.
Be bad that.
Good luck retconning that one. That's going to be very interesting.
Well, Simon says here, well, the Usos can turn on each other and then one can switch side and then the other one back again. It's a story then, isn't it? More members do that, endless combinations.
I mean, I don't know what I love Simon, don't get me wrong.
You're like, yes, sounds good.
I was going to go for him there, but I love Simon. But it's like, wrestling, mate, that's what it is. That I can't wait.
Good wrestling and bad wrestling, like there's good.
It is, but as you say, it's going to get the moments, Benno. People are going to react to it, so that's it doing its job, isn't it? I don't want to go down. It seems like we're never going to end with this fucking bloodline thing ever, and I'm going to get animated, JP here. I can feel myself. Oh.
Roman Reigns, good, we get it. What do you think of the match, mate?
The match was, I think it was best match of the show for me. I absolutely loved it, and I know it was obviously the hot crowd, but I think They give them a reason at the start as well, even if they needed another
Perfect
reason.
choice to open.
Perfect
Owens and
choice.
Orton were like eating, just chewing scenery, weren't they? Just being
But
out
doing
there
the no
with that
bell,
crowd.
Benno, and scrapping, and then Aldous coming out making a no DQ. The fans obviously were going to lap that up, and then it was just a great brawl. It was. I absolutely loved this, and it was because Orton as well. We said it was a way to protect Orton because he obviously can't move as good as he used to with the size of him. To be fair, so giving him like walking brawls in the crowd, stuff like this, is perfect use of Orton as well. And it was. I thought Tama Tonga, he fucking lived up to his end of this match for sure, and took some good bumps. KO was great. He's always great in these type of matches. Just a win-win all round. Right team went over to enhance the story. So, yeah, fair play.
Tama Tonga took his licks. Tama Tonga was definitely in that position of, hang on, you haven't been to NXT, you're in the main roster here. So Orton and KO were like, right, you're taking this bump, you're taking that bump, you're doing this. And that was his trial by fire. That's what he got.
In Tama Tonga's defense, how could Randy Orton do in a New Japan dojo? Just to, like, how would he do making them fucking tea every night and doing their fucking washing? Like,
making the noodles.
Right, good luck. The bloke skinning up in the corner, and it's just like, all right, the fucking police around, he wouldn't give two shits, would he? He'd be like the rest of them.
Use chopsticks.
No.
No chance.
It'd just be absolutely wouldn't survive 5 fucking seconds out there as well. But I'm probably not as a match. I thought it was a lot of fun, but it says a lot, and this is the thing about it where, let's face it, for the most part, it's not like they did anything that you've never really seen before, other than that kind of like the big spot with Tama Tonga onto the chairs was pretty like fucking hardcore. So it's pretty paint by numbers, but this is what you watch, is this crowd and just seeing them absolutely lose their shit at everything. And it's almost like it's almost like they're naive to all of it. So they just love hearing about tables and stuff. And then,
but you know what I loved?
It lifts up the whole match, and it makes something that normally would I've given a shit about. No, not really. But like, it's here they like lift it up to fucking high art.
But even them singing Randy Orton's song, the fans, I love that. I absolutely fucking love that. Like, just that audio and that visual at the same time.
All of it.
Going for it. It was brilliant, JP. Love that.
Ross didn't get that treatment, strangely, did he?
He was the only one that literally, even Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate come across as stars. He got fucking nothing. That's literal silence.
One of my notes on here was, if you're not over in front of this crowd, you're shit. Give it up. Like, it's not happening at all. Because like,
I couldn't believe it.
They loved, absolutely, obviously they loved everything on this show as well. I mean, I have to say there was a couple of points, because I watched the pre-show, so I did see Kevin Owens eating pastry, basically, which was just an excuse for them to film Kevin Owens talking French in France. Like, okay,
she should have done more of.
But it was more the let's bring up New Japan on commentary. And his match against Shinto.
Yeah,
Shinto. Yeah, you remember him? Shinto Gatagi. That we'll talk about later on.
And Michael Cole's reading his own notes.
His great match with Evil, and it's like, that does not exist. You've mentioned the name of a man who doesn't have great matches other than a G1 in about 2019 with Kazuchika Okada at his fucking peak. But it was watching Big E bring up like New Japan, and so he's been in New Japan in Guerrillas of Destiny, and CM Punk's reaction of just like, fuck, we're allowed to talk about New Japan now. Like, this is mad.
Well,
like,
JP, all jokes aside, when Michael Cole mentioned like the never open weight title, it's just bizarre to hear though. It's like strange. It's like, am I watching the same company yet? It's wild.
His other favourite fact is El Generico, and he brings that up every
he loves that one. He loves that one, yeah.
He learned that one. He tries, but yeah, his working out is often coming out at the seams. But I think the other most notable match on the show was probably the main event. And really, it was just the Cody Hope. He's like on a world tour right now, isn't he? He's on like a celebration tour, knocking around, getting big reactions, and kind of cementing himself as the as you called him on Twitter this weekend, Matty, the guy in WWE, Cody Rhodes,
the face of the WWE. I mean,
that's what you said, the face of WWE.
Yeah, he is.
Interesting.
Well, he is, isn't he? He's the champion. He's the babyface champion. He's getting the keys to the kingdom. He's the face of everything around. TV shows, posters. He was on the posters to this.
What's Roman? The ass.
No. Ben, listen, I'm not rising to it all the time now. I'm trying to be a fair,
biceps,
like a fair man now. Cody's having his chance to run with it. Let's see how he gets on with it. That's all I'm saying. Let's see how long it lasts, this little train he's on. Let's see before the wheels start to come off with Cody. Let's
Well, I'm
just
gonna make
see
a
how
turn
long
against
it is.
WWE
I'm
just by liking something from
I'm not
WWE.
turning against
Does it? I'm gonna start singing Roman's praises and see how long it takes.
You wanted this. You were basically having a go shitting on the match on the weekend show, but you wanted this. You wanted a babyface champion in WWE running the show. So this is what you get. So there you go. That's all I'm saying.
Don't goalpost. You retro boys in your goalposts. What I want is a Cody title run that's booked well. Like I want a Swerve title run that's booked well in AEW. I didn't think.
Oh, are you muted, Benno?
Yeah,
I think he might be muted, mate.
Yeah,
he is. And it was an incredible point he was raising as well. Oh, it has.
He was full in discussion mode. Then, wasn't he? He was going into it.
But I think I think as a first step on a show that's more designed as a kind of a postcard for like how big they are around the world. AJ's. I know it was a great point you were going to raise as well, and I didn't know where to
go. On, Ben. Go on,
nothing close.
I don't know how much you might have got out. No, it's all right. Go on.
No, I've got really nothing to say.
Yeah, wanting Cody Rhodes to be a world champion doesn't mean then book him in the open and match every week. No, you've got to then book it well. Not a bad start though. I think it's as far as like making him look like a superstar here. They did that. Just hopefully a more interested program coming out of it, but you can't say AJ didn't do his job. That's it, truncated. That's so annoying. I was getting going there.
I was going to say on a week where a lot of world champions aren't being booked particularly well, this was, even though it was kind of paint by numbers on a show that doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, other than to show off, like I was saying before, how big they are around the world.
It's like a celebration.
It was perfectly fine. They loved it. They got to sing the name of the song on here, like Phenomenal Club. I'm not giving you obviously any French pronunciation whatsoever. Il est vraiment phénoménal is the name of the song from the excitingly titled L'Album Phénoménal on there, which has got Phenomenal Club, which is, I've used the word phenomenal far too much there as well. And in case, the main lyric is, "It's truly phenomenal, we'll set you on fire." Fuck me, they love this song. Oh my god! Like, I think it might be too much for Andy and Jeff. You said like it is like an arena full of Ogdens. It's just like it was like Ogdens on steroids for these as well. Like, give them that. Give them a light trance music as well. Like, maybe I'm stereotyping Europeans at times because when it comes to that shite dance music, they're all over it, sadly. But
Ben, I'll say what I said on the weekend show. Like, this was a one and done, hopefully. If this was a feud, I would have been more down on it, like you was going in. But if it's a one and done, as JP said, it's fine for your first pay-per-view. You'll get Cody's feud now. Maybe after the Saudi show, you'll get the next 2 or 3 pay-per-views where they'll have a couple of matches against the same guy. Hopefully a bigger star like an Orton, or I don't know who you're going to throw in there. I can see him wrestling Logan Paul.
It'd be good from a story point of view. He kind of teased it on the.
I think that would happen.
You need something to. I absolutely agree. Like a good little celebration win when it's like, I'm the new champion. I'm carrying my belt round and showing it off to the world. That's pretty much what he's been doing as a shoot, isn't it? Yeah. Then now it's time to sink your teeth into something. It's like I say, we talked about it on the weekend show. A slightly dishonest argument to say it's exactly the same as Swerve, because it's not. Swerve was at a lower point in the card in AEW, and Christine as a first opponent probably slots him at a certain place on the card as well. Whereas with this, the amount of work they did over Mania to get Cody over, as long as you follow this up with like a big heated thing where he's the focus going forward, then it's absolutely fine. It all works for me. So yeah, it was good. And AJ played his role. You know, biggest AJ's looked in a while. He's definitely been in the. He looked well. Gym, that boy. Michael Cole said at one point on commentary he was wearing the same gear he wore when he wrestled Dusty Rhodes in TNA. No, he didn't. I think he and Andrew Dice Clay posted a photo of it. He wouldn't fit into it. Like, what are you on about? It was like purple bikers back in TNA in the 2003 or whatever it was. And it was when he was at a slimmer man. Not that much slimmer, to be fair. He was still pretty built back then, but yeah, that was a bit of a pork he told on the commentary, but purple, kind of, you know. A nice little throwback to it.
The match was good though. Burning Hammer, guys. Wild seeing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That felt like AJ was kind of trying to protect Cody, and Cody was like, "Nah, I'm gonna land on my head, mate." Like, it was, the way he slowly went down. It was like Cody just decided, "I'm gonna take this on my neck and shoulder. Why not?" He's got that in him, Cody. He's got that dog in him at times. He was feeling that crowd too much, wasn't he?
Yeah,
that's what it was.
He was. No, even AJ looked well. He obviously hit the springboard 450 in this as well, and Cody even busting out the springboard top rope cutter as well, the Cody cutter, and he was loving it. Cody, you could see he fired up twice and done that iconic pose, didn't he? Near the end, he was definitely living off the energy of this crowd, and who wouldn't though? Who wouldn't, to be fair, because they were absolutely lapping him up, and a clean win as well, of course, Crossroads. So yeah, as you say, tick the box, Ben, and as you say, maybe after the Saudi show, though, mate, you'll get something that he'll sink his teeth into over the summer.
It won't be Saudi. They don't
no,
take
Logan Paul, I think, at Saudi. I'd just do that one. Just throw that one in there and then move him on to other things.
I don't hate that. Feels like with Gunther, they're almost holding off on that one to, like, you know, maybe even in WrestleMania, because that's the thing Gunther's got to lose, hasn't he? So, you know, can you do that anytime soon when you're protecting Gunther as this super monster? I hope they get to it soon enough, though. Definitely, maybe that's a big SummerSlam match or something like
that.
Maybe. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too.
You wouldn't want Cody being booed. That would be the only problem with doing it in Berlin, that you would want to do it at SummerSlam or a Survivor Series.
Gunther might win the Raw title then, maybe in Berlin, something like that might need. But loads you can do.
Any other thoughts on the show, Matty? They're the two main things, but the matches in the middle, any brief thoughts on those?
I thought the three-way women's title match, I thought Tiffany Stratton, I don't know if you guys are big like on her, but I thought she looked great in this again. She getting a time to shine. She's in there with like her good worker in Bailey, and Naomi's in there as well. It's like, I thought that was a good match. And as I say, all these matches to me were good because of the crowd as well. Of course, we keep going back to that, but I thought Tiffany looked great in this, and Bailey obviously going over was always going to be the decision in that one. I thought Jay against Damian Priest, I thought Jay looked better, probably his best singles match he's had after like the two big disappointments that he's had there against Roman and his brother. Thought this once again helped out by the crowd. He was better.
I heard him described on Twitter as like a modern day Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I was like, yes. I think Robert started that talking point. Honestly, like, again, the pictures behind JP, I got goosebumps watching him do the entrance, like watching him.
Oh yeah,
such a great. Was Money in the Bank last year when we were there the first time they did that? Like
yes,
the
it was.
Thing,
it genuinely was. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously coming back and it being this big, like it was probably the loudest the crowd got all night. Like that entrance and
I was into it. Ben.
You could see the lights going in the background. No, I genuinely. You'd be a dickhead not to like Jay. So he's very likable, isn't he?
As a guy, yeah.
Unfortunately, the bell then rings.
No, I know, I can't defend him.
He does his job.
Good TV matches, but when it comes to pay-per-view, the two big ones he's had single, I'm down on them. But on TV, he's good. But I thought this was his best pay-per-view match. And even during this, like, he should have just got the win. Go with him while he's hot. Give him even if you start flip-flopping the Raw title about, so be it. You're going to keep Cody as champ for a while. You can afford to give, like, someone who's hot just that. I know Priest maybe ain't it with his work over the last year, but if someone's this hot, just give me for a month, lose it the next month. We can do that at this point for me. I was actively willing that they call an audible so he'd win this, but obviously he didn't, and it's playing into more Judgment Day shenanigans. But I thought that was fine. And the tag title match, not much to say apart from the right call, giving Jade and Bianca the belts, but that bit in the middle with I'm blaming the ref though. I mean, I'm blaming the wrong person, but the ref basically was doing a shoot job, but he fucked the entire rhythm of the match, and especially with Jade being a newbie to the company, it's gonna kind of affect it, isn't it? In a way that she's not following. It was weird.
I think people are being too charitable to Jade. Like, I know she's a rough diamond, and I've been critical of the fact that AEW didn't get her to a higher level. They still should have, but I think this maybe went against that argument a bit in that she's been there a while now. Like, she showed no instincts whatsoever to get things on track. Like that point where they were rolling around on the floor and just, I thought she was concussed for a second. Just turned out she was completely lost, and that
shouldn't that be on an opponent though, Ben, who's a veteran? Do you know what I mean? Really,
but she didn't get out of training school yesterday. She's been
I know,
a fair amount of time now. That was even given the caveat of she's in the right place because we can hide those weaknesses, and you want her in spots like that with veterans. It was still on the extreme end of bad. She pulled it back, like the big spot at the end, which they nailed.
He got back on track, yeah.
It just shows you if you protect it and you can hide those seams, then you can get away with it, and the WWE is the best place to get away with it. But even as somebody who thought WWE is the right spot for her, even I was shocked that she's still that low as far as like having just basic in-ring instincts. I would have thought she'd be a little bit more along than she was.
I haven't seen that for a while on WWE TV though. That level of like
rough.
getting lost. But even as you say, like I will always go towards the veteran. I'm not saying she's completely like bereft of blame, but even just push to the outside and start again on the outside or do something.
Yeah,
He just literally stood there, didn't
grab
he?
a hold.
Grab a headlock. Anything, yeah. But
Get
the ref
burns.
was like doing a shoot job, but like back. I think
the ref was bad too.
They got told, didn't the JP, to like literally count it as a shoot, and if it's a free count, I think he was a bit more leaning towards that side.
It's a fucking work, innit? If anyone needs to let the ref look bad, like, we'll protect the refs. No, let the refs look bad. Like, refs make bad calls in sports. Like, let them look like the dickheads. Like, stupid. Yeah. But yeah, it was a rough few minutes there. But they got the
right call,
the right spot.
Well.
Yeah, and obviously Jaden the Anchor is like a program they've got coming down the line as well. So yeah, you get tip points from that as well. I'd say more about the other matches with the win anyway. Is that it? That's
it. That's weird.
That's the negative.
You know what else is great as well? We done on the Discord.
Is it a negative?
Again.
Yeah, good point.
Connor, God bless him though, does the predictions, and 75% of our Discord he took part won on the predictions.
We're number one.
Safe as ours pay-per-view, all the right decisions.
Triple H pay-per-view, wasn't
it? yeah, fair enough. Like, but it was, as you guys said, it's the crowd enhanced this, even if you're not, you know, a WWE fan.
Yeah,
I'd just say check it out just to see the fans literally experience that atmosphere.
And then turn it off. You'll be fine.
Can I also say just about that women's three-way very, very quickly? If there's one thing that's worse than any of Pam's sunset flips, which are shocking, is her new music. I've never seen a song that goes in 3 or 4 different directions and fails each and every time. Each one of them, it was horrible, horrible to listen to. And this crowd wanted to fucking chant, and they didn't know what to do. They were thrown by this wacky song. Whereas Naomi, fuck me, you'd have thought each and every one of them people were on pills. Is what you would have thought was during that entrance. They would have lost the fucking plot.
They absolutely need to bin Def Rebel off, Matty. Like, it is unbelievable. They're unbelievably bad. Like, it's like who else has got a bad one? Damien Priest's song. Like,
AJ's new one.
AJ's new one. There's nothing distinctive of them. AJ Styles, who has had like a almost 100% hit rate, hasn't he? You think about like I Am in TNA. You think of Demigods in ROH.
Even
you think of the New Japan one he had. The WWE one he had. They don't want none. All 4 of them are like 10 out of 10 themes for me. Like genuinely, and like to go to this, it just none of them have got any like distinct sound to them. Everything sounds cheaper. It's like when you were like 18, you first got Fruity Loops on your computer, thinking, at least I did it, thinking you could be a music producer or Parappa the Rapper or something like that. You know what I mean? Or
Magic.
What was the one on PlayStation 1? Was that?
That was just called Music, wasn't it? Music 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
And I made some great hip hop beats on that, mate. The only problem was you'd make the beat and then you couldn't do nothing with it because you couldn't save it. Like you couldn't download it. You couldn't do anything with it. It was just on your game. Been lost to time. My great beats back in the day, Matt. But like to the point, like these beats are worse than that because it was like the worst sound effects you could pick, and it's all of the. It sounds tinny and cheap. It's just none of it's got any impact. Awful.
I mean, I think they're behind head of the table, so they'll always have that in the bank for me. But I think it's is that not CFOS, is it, or whatever? I mean,
if it is them, well, yeah, it's the Succession theme, didn't they? And went,
but,
so I'm not sure how much credit they get.
No, but with everyone kind of changing character in the past year or so, each time they've been given the task to put a new music together, they're not good. They aren't. I can't defend them. As you said, the Rumble was proof to that, weren't it? You heard all the musics. That's what used to be the signal of the Rumble, hearing the music, who's coming up next. I didn't know who half of them were because they were all getting just these random themes. So they're not good.
It is Def Rebel, in fact. Yeah, it is Roman, as Ewan says there. I just pulled it up as well. We'll give them 1.
Give them 1 out of a fucking 200.
As far as the presser goes, I mean, we've talked about the possibility of going to Italy in a stadium show. Big part of the presser, JP, was Triple H shit in the bed when asked a real question. You could tell he was absolutely loving that. It was all softball questions, wasn't it? And it was all just lightweight. Oh, why was this show great? Type of questions, which people believe some reporting out there, might have even been fed to some of these reporters because they were certainly questions that WWE would want. And then just as he's about to get off, the one reporter with a conscience in the place actually asked them a real question about Drew Gulak and Ronda Rousey, and instead of answering the question, our mate Paul got flustered, JP, and started going off on apparently PW Insider and Fightful aren't real news sources that you should believe. That's how you know he's a very online man. That's how you know he's still on Reddit with a W. He knows these websites, and it was one of them. It's like that instinct to be like a wrestler inside sports. Yeah, despite the fact that several dead cheats in the roommates that you invited, including Fightful, who often get invites to these types of things. Just again another example of them being ill prepared, and like I know you got a million softballs in these, but like surely you should be ready to answer a real question when it gets asked.
I thought he was awful here. And the thing is, there's no excuse.
Is the name of the bloke, so just throw that out there.
That's it. Question. And then apparently Mike Johnson kicked off at him. And I went, that's kind of classic PW Insider, isn't it? I know. Yeah. God, he is. He really is. This is the thing with them as well. And this is the stuff that I always get annoyed about, like wrestling media, is it just makes them look bad. That as soon as there's only one of these questions that's kind of worth its salt in any way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying every question has, like, there are ways of asking questions. There are ways of bringing up topics on here. But his response to it, his reflective response to being asked a serious question is almost like he wants to say bullshit, not credible sources. So if it's not happening, contract wasn't renewed, denial. And I don't think that's good. Like, I don't think that's like, because when, like, there is going to come points where there's going to be more and more of these questions, because this is, you know, we're seeing the nature of the culture of the company come through. And as we see with the Vince stuff, like it basically, there's like peaks and troughs. We'll get another peak soon enough. We'll get a whole series of stuff being revealed, and he'll get asked about it again. But then if you're going to hold press conferences, what the fuck do you expect? Unless he just wants them all to be part of the storyline, in which case, like, don't bother with them. It's just like some weird television, but don't pretend like you're it's the any slightest scrutiny or anything that's remotely testing the massive levels of offense they take to it. It's really childish. And this time round, it was particularly tedious, but come to expect it.
It's that typical wrestling react. It's like when you see it with wrestlers where it's like, well, fake news and Dave Meltzer's got it wrong again, or, you know, you've all that. It's like, well, what's the right story then, mate? Like, you're going to go on record and debunk that? Because, like, yeah, you know, I'll call most of the people behind PW Insider are gobshites, but they haven't got a bad record as far as reporting stuff. Fightful, you know, for whatever you want to say about Fightful, 90% of their stories pretty much end up being accurate, and when they're not, they usually will, you know, will give you the clarified report. And including in this case, like, there was a nugget of a point there, because and again, you know, this is not necessarily the fault of the reporter asking the question. This is more, you know, there's more to the story than we thought. It turns out that Gulak, it had been reported, hadn't it, by PW Insider and by Fightful, that he'd been released. He hasn't. Apparently they're just not going to be renewing his contract going forward. So that's a new wrinkle. But of course, Fightful, being a, you know, I think credible outlet, have clarified that and provided that reporting. As long as that happens later, I think that's absolutely fine. And I think that's, you know, responsible reporting. But yeah, just shows you, doesn't it? It's the attitude of people in wrestling. It is often that with wrestlers, where it's just like, well, you insiders don't know what you're talking about, and it's like, yeah, but you're not providing the real story either, are you? So, like, you know, we have to rely on the reports from outlets like this that, again, do often end up being accurate.
Yeah, there is like, why the fear of it? Because if they own this stuff, if they've got any kind of, like, you know, you'd hope this Legend Teal bloke, now he's got a promotion, the first thing he'll be actually saying, if he wants to be really worth his salt and not just feeding stories, get Triple H fucking media trained, because you need to know how to deal with this stuff. And it's the only responsible, like it would be in their position, say the only responsible thing to do is to actually treat, like, any of these stories with, like, a modicum of decency, rather than become like he does, which is petulant child kick off. Because it's just like, yeah, at some point, mate, you're not always going to be able to do this. You can't just whisper fucking Mark and bemoan the fucking dirt sheets, because that's what it was. It was the most stereotypical kind of, like, wrestler response.
And Fightful have said that they've had apologies. I mean, I don't know, as he called Sean Ross
Publish
off the record and apologised. I'd be interested in knowing whether that's happened, because there's implications there too as well. But yeah, apparently, Fightful we're told that it was that Triple H had misspoken when he was burying them along with the others. But again, credit to Showroom Staff for saying, well, I don't agree with them saying that about PW Insider either. But yeah, all very murky. And to be honest, it's a good lead in, JP, maybe just to upset the order a little bit. Like, we should probably talk about it now. Do you want to talk about the John Laurinaitis stuff and all of that? Obviously, we covered it on the weekend show as kind of the news came out that Johnny Ace had flipped. Would have been great if somebody asked Triple H a question about that at the presser when it would have been important to maybe ask one of the highest ranking people in the company, person who talked about him. What did he say? Him and Nick Khan were thick as thieves, I think was the wording. There's some irony in that as well. Might have been a good time to ask about this. As I don't know what your reaction was to it, JP. As Johnny Ace has flipped and is now supporting the Vince McMahon side of things when it comes to the Janelle Grant lawsuit. Sent out a statement last Thursday regarding it, saying he's fully joining in and adapting Vince McMahon's motion to compel arbitration, corroborating Mr. McMahon in publicly declaring Miss Grant's allegations of sexual abuse and coercion are unfounded. Obviously is completely at odds with the language that we previously got from his representatives, in that he was a victim just like Janelle Grant, and that he was on that side of it. He's clearly been playing both sides and has landed on the side of the Vince McMahon and WWE side, JP.
It's amazing he's landing on the side of the bloke who's just liquidated a load of his stock, so he's actually now a proper billionaire and he's got all of this money. And that's where my mind went. I just thought, right, his lawyer and McMahon's lawyers, they're going to be working together now. Who's going to be paying for that? Who's going to be making sure that he's all right as he's not working throughout all of this stuff with the big proviso of you do not testify against me? Incredibly Trumpian. And I know there's stories today at the Donald Trump trial about WWE being brought up compared to porn, ironically, in all of this. But I think with this one, it felt like it's almost like if you think, what is his best bet? Is it him fighting this, in paying for his own legal defense and fighting this in court, or just taking the Vince McMahon money, let him pay for all of this, and eventually put it into some sort of payout, because that's what they're hoping for here. It's horrible. It's absolutely fucking horrible. It's completely unsurprising. He is absolutely. It's
what he's always been.
It's what he's always been. He's always been this type of person, and this is where he's at. But it's fucking horrible reading.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously there's more to this story. I mean, where are we up to, JP, as far as what are we expecting next to happen in the case, as far as movement and as far as any kind of development of where we are?
I think at this, at this stage, it's whether or not obviously they're going to be working together at this point in terms of the defenses in there as well. I don't know whether or not it's whether or not it's going to go to a grand jury and the grand jury decide is there going to be proper charges that are going to be put into place for this. So I think what we're going to end up seeing is what I would kind of imagine is I imagine you'll see a response from Ann Callis in all of this as well, and Janelle Grant. But it's horrible because where's the power balance here? We've got you could this idea of the people who stand up for Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis in this, and you go, look at the dynamics here. Look at the people that she is up against, and look what they're doing at this point in time. I just think the one thing that the Janelle Grant team kind of has is the horrificness of
and they could jump on the previous statements too. There's previous statements by Johnny's talking about, well, what did you mean that you were a victim to? What does that mean in light of now you support everything Vince McMahon said? It's not even, we were saying this on the weekend show, is it actually a positive that he's on that side now? Does it not undermine their side a little bit, or shows that they are, and always have been, in cahoots when it comes to stuff like this? It's in keeping with the allegations, if anything, that them two would back each other.
And it's always felt that there are a lot of allegations about John Laurinaitis as well. And you'd imagine people will get really on board with this if it's like in terms of this story, and they just go, right, let's go after them then at the same time as well. But yeah, and that would be what I'd hope the response is, because those two old fucking assholes deserve to be fucking punished.
Well, speaking of old arseholes, we'll bomb through the news, and then we'll do some broader thoughts at the end. Jerry Lawler's broadcasting. I don't know why I'm bringing this up at this point in the show, JP. Jerry Lawler's broadcasting contract has not been renewed. Still under a Legends deal with the company. Has been the clarification. PW Insider were again, speaking of them, the first to report that. 74 years old. Lawler is at this point. Obviously, been in the company since 1992. Has his own history of different allegations as well. But yeah, interesting that he's going to continue to be held under a Legends deal. But yeah, they've obviously he wasn't going to be returning to the booth anytime soon. Let's hope that's somebody that Tony Khan leaves alone. I've literally seen people fantasy book today. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler getting back in the booth together. No thanks, mate. I'm all right. Leave that in 1998. Yeah.
That could happen though, Ben. I mean, I agree that he shouldn't be anywhere near it, but would you be surprised, really? Would you?
Well, he hired Ric Flair. That's the thing about this.
Oh, we've got a story on him later too.
I know it feels like kind of like all bets are off with Tony Khan when it comes to this stuff. But
I'd like to think he wouldn't.
I'd like to think so, but I have to admit I'm not entirely convinced by it. I mean, do you know the weird thing is, after him being on TV for so long, Jerry Lawler, he's not even someone who kind of like crosses my mind when I think of like even commentary.
Forget he was still there.
Yeah, you forget he was like still there and still part of the company as well. The fact he'd had a stroke, dare I say it, I have no recollection. Right, we probably spoke about it on the podcast. No recollection about any of that stuff as well, but not missed in any way. So,
not at all. Well, moving on, other news story. Speaking of WWE media relations, your boy, Legensel, as we raise a fist to the sky, JP, as you mentioned earlier, has been promoted by WWE. Apparently, he was the Senior Vice President, Head of Global Communications at WWE. He's now the Executive Vice President, Talent Relations, and Head of Communications. So, yeah, he can continue to cover stuff up. Sounds great.
Yeah.
It's not that simple, folks.
Satan's PR man getting his dues here as well. I mean, what I would say from all of the stuff that I've listened to and heard in terms of the discussion about him, like, as much as I hate to say, he's fucking good at the job he is paid to do to a like worrying degree, which is basically completely change news cycles and everything else. It's like wrestling's Malcolm Tucker, probably without replace the swearing for fucking, I don't know, like what would be management speak buzzwords and the rest of it. Yeah, but this isn't surprising. Isn't he very much like Nick Khan poached him from DAZN, isn't it? That was the story that was going around there as well, and that he really like wants him in there as well. So yeah, he's good, but in a kind of evil type way.
Every big evil corporation needs somebody in a position like that. But there you go. And yeah, speaking of him doing his work, obviously we've got another headline. Apparently, the Cleveland Cavaliers were doing the Yeet at the Orlando Magic game. It is a phrase that existed before WWE, I've got to say, and it's a couple of years old now, to be fair. But they did apparently play Jey Uso's song at the game as well, which just reminds me of Arsenal, to be honest, JP. Maybe you've got that. Maybe they got involved in Arsenal as well. Maybe Willa Gentle's getting them to play the Cult of Personality at halftime and stuff like that at your place.
Mate, they never fucking stop at that bastard at halftime. And most of the time, I'm never there when I'm at a game. I'm like stood in the bit, like either having a drink or anything else, or having a vape on the stairs. Like it's the only place you can get away with it, the Arsenal ground. So I generally miss his like when he plays fucking Triple H and the rest of it. But yeah, it's I hate it when they do stuff like that. I mean, yeah, but there we go.
Well, we'll get to the obviously Kevin Owens' contract apparently is in the news as well. Apparently he's got 9 months left on his WWE deal. But yeah, we can talk about. I mean, not expecting him to go anywhere anytime soon, are we? He's a lifer, I'd say, Matty. Before we get into Raw and SmackDown.
I mean, it was always last time, JP, when it was coming up around like 2021, was it? But just after the pandemic, and I was like, when there was murmurs of him maybe going to AEW, and I was like, probably not then. But this time, JP, maybe I am naive, but I think there's more of a chance now of him doing it than then. But that's just me getting a little inkling. But seems to be the thing now. They leave the contracts way low, don't they now? And then maybe like come up with a better deal. I don't know what the thinking is behind it, but I don't know. If he went, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me.
He just seems to love it there. Like, you see an interview with him, and he talks. He said today, didn't he? Like, it's been my home for 10 years. Love the locker room. Love the people backstage. Obviously, now that like he was the first who I felt like publicly proper treated Triple H like Papa H. I was, treating him like a dad figure in NXT. I just think he's so loyal to him. I don't see him moving anytime soon. But there we go. That's the last of the news story we have in here. And the only other thing to talk about here is if any of us seeing the TV over the weekend. SmackDown probably not hugely worth talking outside of what's going on with the King and the Queen of the Ring. But managed to catch any of Raw from last night, Matty, before we move on to things AEW.
Well, I've only seen clips, haven't I? Because I say on the pre-show, if anyone joined, I went for a nice Indian meal tonight, so I didn't have time to watch Raw. But I've seen the main bits, and I will be watching it tomorrow. It was actually quite wrestling heavy, wasn't it?
Gunther Sheamus was very good. For WWE, that was a very again, it's WWE. You're not getting past on a Raw match. You're getting higher than 3.75, probably not. But it was in that ballpark, 3.5 to 3.75, I would say. Obviously not a patch on their WrestleMania match, which was the three-way with
and Clash of Castle,
Drew, or the Clash of the Castle. That's what I'm thinking of, the big singles match they had. But good hard hitting stuff. Like, I mean, it's a tactic, isn't it? If you want to take food off AEW's table, AEW is the work rate promotion. It's the one thing that WWE don't seem to do. Notice we weren't throwing gigantic stars or anything from the France show, but they've got the roster to do it. And like a tournament like this, where it's like not wrestling for points, it's wrestling for a crown. So apparently that's all right, Matt. You might as well do that,
That's wrestling, though, mate. That's wrestling.
Is it? Yeah, with a big crown and a cape at the end of it makes it. Can't imagine Gunther in that there for some reason, but it was a proper like hard fought as well. They put the whole match on YouTube there as well. Sheamus is what he is at this point in WWE. He's always going to be a bit part player, isn't he? But as far as somebody who can be, in there and give you a credible opponent, someone like a Gunther, despite being, treated as the big bad himself in WWE, has to fight and claw to beat. It was really good. Probably the best match I've seen on Raw in a few weeks.
That chop to the back of the neck, I've seen that. That was fucking stiff as anything. But what about wasn't Ilya and Ricochet as well? I heard good things about that as well.
Pretty good. Ricochet, I don't know. I can't take him seriously anymore. 3.5 is his ceiling in WWE, but like I say, that's the ceiling of a lot of people. Ilya looked good. I just wonder whether the Ilya formula is gonna long term work on WWE TV. But like Gunther, I didn't expect him. Him and Gunther had a 5-star match in NXT UK of all places, and Gunther's been massively protected through NXT to main roster to the point where he is this, this monster. Could eat a few more pies. I agree with that point. But he's been booked and protected in such a way that he's this believable monster at this point in WWE. I would probably trust on the flip side them to book Ilya to his strengths as well. It was a good start, definitely.
Well, what do you think? He's probably going to win the tournament, though, isn't he? Gunther, I'd say. I mean, he's not going to lose in this, is he? You'd think he's going to win the tournament, and as you say, it's another good protecting of him, another good notch on his WWE career so far, and that he could use that number one contendership then maybe to get a shot at Cody. So I'm all for that, seeing him have more matches like this, Ben.
Definitely. The only other point I was going to mention was Punk. Got this promo on Raw. It was rough.
I wanted your take on this one, Ben, as the Punk man.
I think it's being boiled down because people are seeing the clip going around, which is Punk trying to bring up,
fire shots.
I'm a choke artist, but not in that way type of thing, like trying to make a joke of the Jack Perry stuff and it down at its arse. That wasn't the worst thing of the promo to me. Like that was one line that, depending on where you are with WWE, those lines might land, they might not. Probably save that for when they're in New York or Chicago, Phil. He probably should have learned that lesson. Remember when he came in and he cut that promo on SmackDown, which I can't remember what town that was, but it was another town where it was like, you could see the blank looks on the families in the crowd's faces. WWE have got those audiences too. I think people are taking that and making too an extreme a lesson with it, because, like, yes, you know, that stuff goes over some heads, but also Punk doing that and Drew doing that in their feud has made probably for the most compelling parts of WWE TV, at least in my opinion, over the last couple of months. Way more compelling than any of the build to Backlash. And it's quarter hours as well. So I'd say broadly, I don't think it's as simple as saying the WWE fan base aren't into this stuff. Like, they're clearly into that program and they're clearly into Punk. Is quarter hours.
Yeah.
Have him treated like a star. He's just got to pick his spots with those moments. But the bigger problem was just the promo went too long. It went about 8 minutes, and he didn't have 8 minutes worth of material. It reminded me of some of those, like I was going to say, JP, like remember those early Collision promos where people wanted to say he was knocking out the park, but there were a couple of weeks where you could tell he's getting a bit older and his brain wasn't quite keeping up with his mouth and he was losing his track. At this point where Phil is in his career, you see more of that. And it was one of those bad weeks, to be honest, where, yeah, he was given a mic and free license and didn't do great. Go on, Matty.
You muted JP.
Sorry, mate.
For the love of fucking
I did it first,
Christ.
at least.
We're about nearly an hour and a half in before that, so like we've got it out of the way. Should have some bets on it, isn't it? It'd be a drinking game. But like, it just feels like he's chucked out there to kill time. Which, consider how many fucking matches they had in this show, did they really need to do it? I know the show is 3 hours long. I'm not having that debate again. I think we'd all be agreed to, like, for any weekly TV show to be that length. But still, it's just like, Phil, go out there and say some shit. And do you know what? I will say he's much better like a pre-show where he's just like fucking around with Big E in a studio in there as well, where he can kind of do that stuff and get away with it. But if he's not coming back anytime soon, it just feels like, and here's CM Punk. And he just goes out there and, you know, says standard Phil things.
But it just sorry, Ben, it just never amazes me though how, like, every segment this guy does, it gets so micromanaged, dissected. He's still got that. He's still got that thing though, hasn't he? And he'll always have it, to be fair to him.
He sets it up that way though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yes. He knows exactly what he's doing.
And again, I'm not blind to it. Like, I think there's a happy medium there, and I think that was something we said when he first came into WWE. He can't always be the Phil with a gripe who's got the inside the comments. Like, again, he's a knobhead who goes on fucking Hell One and goes, "Oh yeah, these marks in AEW with their inside and stuff." It's like, he's doing it every week. But the thing that's been good, I think he's walked that line in the Drew feud really well, where it's half that and it's half, and that's where it does work, because you believe they really hate each other. It's half WWE story. And like I always said, when the people only remember the pipe bomb, they don't think immediately of the Straight Edge Society and the other many examples, the Rey Mysterio feud,
Jeff Hardy,
of stuff in WWE, Jeff Hardy. He didn't do WWE that was purely character and purely story based, what's going on screen stuff. You need that balance, I think, when you're in WWE. It can't all be this. So yeah, they've struck the balance mostly, but this was a miss, but probably for other reasons too. But yeah, outside of that, no other comments on it, and yeah, the King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring continues. Is what it is. Let's use got anything on that. Yeah, the only other thing to say on WWE before we move to AEW and other matters. Yeah, WrestleMania in Vegas, talked about it on the pre-show. It's happening. Perfect location. And yeah, they'll again, I think for me, I would never consider going to a Mania. I would never consider trying to cover all the shows we cover on our podcasts. Vegas though, Matty.
I know, mate. I mean, I've got hotel reserved.
Shit to be Minneapolis, though.
I know, and hopefully, you know, when the tickets come out and the flights come out, hopefully I can make that happen. But yeah, I'm definitely like really looking at going. So I say perfect location, Ben, for everything they do there, and even the other shows that are surrounding it, just a perfect city for it. So yeah, let's
it'll be France next year, so be fine.
Yeah, London the year after.
Oh no! If they're doing that and they're getting a site fee, I tell you what, like,
we missed that from the presser. He shouted out to the Khan, you know. Fucking
he did, didn't he? Yeah.
2 peas in a pod, them two.
Like, I mean, then God forbid if Sadiq Khan's up against any kind of halfway decent candidate, because that'd be a you know, fucking paying site fees to bring over WrestleMania there as well. Just saying the Vegas thing. I'm just amazed they haven't done it sooner. Like in the stadium era, I suppose there hasn't always been like a football team out there and stuff, and they've got that stadium, which I'm just looking at on Wikipedia for the NFL. Does 65,000
They tried to run it, didn't they? Remember when I was there for Double or Nothing 2 years ago? There were posters everywhere and like big light up screens for Money in the Bank. And while I was there, they cancelled it and moved it to an arena, didn't they? So it's Mania. They're going to fill it, aren't they? It's not even a worry, especially again tourist destination like Vegas. But yeah, get your hotels at Mandalay Bay area is probably your shot. Where are you looking at staying, Matty? If you do,
we've got reserved the Win. Sorry, the link. No, the link.
Wins.
I know, the link was coming up as the cheapest one along the strip. So,
done well.
Yeah, they're done all right there, mate. Yeah, because they doubled already in price within like a day or two. Because Steph keeps looking just to be double checking. So yeah.
It's good to know, and it's always nice to have that like hassle.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Like I said on the pre-show, though, like I mean that won't stay the same. There's so many hotels in Vegas, like, and there's always things going on. If you want to go, you'll find a room. You'll be all right, but. Yeah, there you go. That's what's happening next year. Maybe will Tony Khan still run Double or Nothing there next year? We will see. And speaking of which, unless there's more on WWE, we should talk some AEW. And there's not really much to talk about. Oh, SummerSlam 21 was at Allegiant Stadium. Didn't realise that. What was SummerSlam 21, Matty?
That was
trivia question.
Cena and Roman Reigns in the main event. That was that one.
You need a stadium for that, don't they? Of course they do.
It wouldn't have sold out though. It'd have been one of those like they filmed it in a corner and a corner of it's empty. They would have. I'm sure that would have been it. Like it would have probably only done about 35, 40 for this.
Well, on that note, we should talk some AEW. And yeah, like I say, they've got Double or Nothing coming up in Vegas. How it's doing is a question, but. Yeah, it's a weird week this for AEW coverage, JP. We haven't really got much to talk about. Been a quiet all weekend. Obviously, they taped Rampage along with Dynamite. There was no collision. All's been quiet in the Western Front and in the world of AEW. Yeah, not much to report, I would say. Quite enjoyed the weekend off, to be honest. Nice little reset.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was thinking about this. I was like, God, like there's barely. Obviously, you guys talked about Dynamite on the weekend show from there as well. But if you think about the amount of other wrestling that was on, you have a 3-hour WWE pay-per-view, a TNA show that's 3 hours, 2 New Japan shows which are about 4 hours each. So if we're adding up, we have 6 + 8, 14 hours at this stage. A Noah show, let's put 4 hours onto that. If you're this way inclined, you want fucking Champions Carnival, you want GCW Cinco de Mayo show, there still is somewhere in the region of about 25 hours of other wrestling you could watch without AEW being on. Like, which is like absolutely fucking crazy. But it was so weird them not being on like this weekend. It felt like a mini holiday between like kind of in my case, not recording and not having AEW on. It was just like, okay, this is kind of like it was weird, and maybe they need to do that. Like, you know, I know the NBA is like fucking up the schedule and everything else for them, but can't say I
do with less of these 3-hour blocks. Gotta say, like I
was going to mention
like that. The more palatable on a weekend, definitely. Like, don't get me wrong. There's if I'm going to watch Rampage, I'm probably more likely to watch it when it's straight after Dynamite than I am on a Friday night. It just feels a lot, you know, even to get up on Saturday morning, put fucking Rampage on. Like, I find that just a motivation to put that on just isn't there. Whereas if you've already got the fight stream on, I think, all right, I'll leave it running and see what's on next. Fits better with Collision, I'd say, like those 3-hour blocks on a Saturday. But we've got another one coming up as well, haven't we, JP? Do you think they're going to be tempted to... I mean, it's clearly... It's a trial run for something. Is it a trial run for Dynamite followed by Rampage, or is it a trial run for, dare I say it, 3-hour Dynamite coming up?
That's what nailed it.
That's what I worry about, and I would say, yeah, to that point, like the rating, you know, on this last weekend, and I've heard Meltzer talk about it, probably leans more to, if you're a TV person, what's going to draw more viewers, a 3rd hour of Dynamite or an hour that you distinctly call Rampage? Well, you know, that Rampage drop off on Wednesday last week kind of tells you, but I'm not sure it'd be a good thing for people like us.
It's fucking hard work, mate. Like, it really is. And like I say, on a weekend, it's much more palatable. But like Rampage for me was just like, it was on, and that's how it was. It was just like kind of something that was on generally in the background. And obviously they did the thing of the angle bleeding into the start of it, which was, you know, I agreed with you guys in the main, like about how much fun that was. it's just their kind of, I don't know. It's a really strange situation because you can see what they're doing because they like obviously they're trying to sell themselves. They're going, look, we can offer you a 3-hour block of live TV at relatively cost efficient price. What is it? It'd work out for how many dollars they are being paid per viewer. That it's somewhere in the region of it's like half of what you pay for WWE. You know, and they think there's some value for it. But as a viewer, it's not fun. And particularly if a lot of the storylines are just kind of there, really. You're like, that's what you're really buying, aren't you? You're buying, storylines for like large, like, you know, large parts.
For content sake, innit?
It is.
WWE at that point, aren't
you?
Where it's just like, we almost cut WWE slack. Well, Raw's 3 hours in it, so fair enough. I don't want to be at that point with AEW. You know, where it's like, well, it's got to be bad, hasn't it? Because it's 3 hours. Like, does it have to be? Like, but, you know, I think they're going to be really tempted to do it because, that drop-off happens because people see Rampage as a lesser product. They add a chance. Like, I always thought Collision existed as like a fresh start and a way to be like, no, we've got a secondary show, but it's not really a secondary show. It's our SmackDown to our Raw. How quickly did the perception on that change? And now that does Rampage numbers. It's hard to break out of that. But if it's a 3rd-hour Dynamite, I think they're going to be tempted. But, you know, you mentioned what's going on at the minute, and obviously we got Double or Nothing coming up at the end of this month, and we are on the fast track to yet another AEW pay-per-view. I was going to ask what your excitement levels are. I think I know your answer, Matty, but for you, JP going in, as far as ticket sales go for Double or Nothing at the end of the month, we got 5,500 tickets out, 5,566 apparently at last update according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. To put that into context, last year they did 10,500, and the year before they did 13,000. MGM obviously having slightly lower capacity than the T-Mobile shows that they've done. But do you expect that to improve based on what we're seeing right now, JP, as far as the TV goes? I've got to say, like, I enjoyed Dynasty as a show. Me and Garrett sat here on the show on here and waxed lyrical about how much we had a good time watching it, but it didn't feel like a big time pay-per-view going in. And again, you talk about the TV hours changing. The other big change that's happened this year is the more pay-per-views, and just the knock-on effect feels slightly less important. And Double or Nothing, which, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, is AEW's number 2 show of the year. It was always that and All Out were kind of in combo as far as the big shows of the year. Feels a little bit like just another pay-per-view, and I think part of that is the fact that it's going to be coming up so soon, and they haven't really got time to give us any big A programs.
And it does feel like any other pay-per-view. And this is meant to be this was their original AEW show, Double or Nothing, on here. And I think they're hoping for the ticket sales that some sort of anarchy what I assumed was some anarchy in the arena match between the Elite or the New Elite versus whatever the Kenny Omega team is. And there's various storylines. Kenny's King. Oh, God. Not Kenny's Kid. It sounds like Kenny's Kids, that Irish football account that I used to listen to that really turned out to be massively wrong about Stephen Kenny, like I was, I have to admit. But for this, like, it's so underwhelming because it's not that I haven't enjoyed Christian Cage. I really have. It's just that, and I kind of agreed with what you guys said, because I just got this impression that he just wasn't quite there. Like, he wasn't quite with it. And that was it was quite weird seeing him in that position for a guy who's been so much fun since his heel turn and everything else. And if you said to me, he's going to have a match against him, and that'd be kind of fine. But the problem is it feels like it's a world championship match. It's just going to be immediately overshadowed by whatever the other real main event is. That there's a real main event, and it doesn't matter what the world champion does in there as well. And I think this is like what the other matches they're predicting. I mean, like the Tony Storm Serena D feels much lesser than Willow Nightingale Mercedes Moné, which is a kind of like a slightly strange position. And I think they're banking on people doing buys for that, which I don't think that's going to happen much at all. And we got Will Ospreay in. I do like Roderick Strong. I'm not excited to see this match whatsoever. And you're coming off the last match that Ospreay had on pay-per-view, what apparently was the second greatest match of all time, according to Dave Meltzer. And he's having a match with Roderick Strong for a title that you would honestly forget. If someone said, "Oh no, it's the Continental Championship," you'd go along with it at first and go, "No, hang on a minute, is it not the International title?" And then you go, "What's the fucking difference? There's a world, an international, and a continental." I'm struggling to see what is fundamentally the difference between some of those words. Like, really, I am. Like, it really is. Because does the world title not include continents? Yeah. Is it not international? Is it not all of these things combined? And here we go.
On TNT?
Yeah, exactly. And just to say, with the Swerve Strickland being on it, we've already had 2 fucking championship matches before we've got to this point as well. It's like, Jesus Christ.
With the belts, like, it's one of them. I've heard that discussed. Like, there's a bit of a conversation going on the Discord today, saying like, well, if Ospreay is going to be slotted at that continental level, that's the right one, isn't it? Continental. Then, like, even I'm questioning myself.
International, isn't it? Is it
it's international. It's international. It's international, right?
Yeah, it is.
Fucking honestly,
see, I'm an AEW guy now.
But it doesn't mean anything because people are a bit, well, that probably means he won't work Swerve for the world title, doesn't it? Like, because it can mean whatever they want. Like, they just, there's no clear hierarchy on where these belts fit. No. You tell me what's bigger out of the TNT, the Continental, and the International title. Depends who's got it at a given time. Like, there's every chance they put this belt on Ospreay, and then he treats it like it's a world title. That's its own problem.
Major.
But, like, yeah, well, I think we're all wishful thinking there. But if he did some kind of belt collector thing where it was like, oh, there's actually, it's not just Tony Khan can't help himself. There's actually a logical reason why Cope's got one belt, Okada's got another, and Ospreay has another, because they're all people who are arguably as over as Swerve, and you could have Ospreay collect those belts on the way to wrestling Swerve. That'd be a great story. Not in a Tony Khan, but wrestling company. He likes having loads of belts. It's not happening. And if it does happen, like Eddie Kingston, he'll split them up again. It wouldn't be a long-term solution anyway. Yeah, you'll make another one. Yeah, you'll make another one. He can't help himself. So I don't think that's happening. Absolutely not. But so you can't really draw any inference from it. But yeah, it is just a little bit, at least until he gets the belt and then we see what he does with it. It is him going for a lower card belt. But then it's a more over right now, no slight to Swerve, but more over wrestler or hotter wrestler, let's say that, than Swerve is right now. So that's going on. And then, yeah, like you said, JP, you've got whatever happened with the Young Bucks and Kenny, and we'll agree to disagree, Matty, on whether authority figure infighting is good for the company or not. But it seems like, I was hoping it was a one and done. Kenny being on Dynamite this week sounds like set up for exactly what you're talking about, AEW, and we're going to be having what we all feared 5 years ago, the Young Bucks, the EVPs fighting over who's got the real power in the company behind, who are the real powers that be. What does that sound like?
Who's got control?
We're getting that, but that was, overwhelmingly the story over the last couple of weeks since Swerve has won the belt. That's been the major thing. That's the thing Tony Khan's selling on mainstream TV. We've been told that's the most important thing. But is it really that? Really, when it comes to it, and therefore nothing feels important. Swerve versus Christian is absolutely a match you could get away with, like I said, with Cody, if there was a little bit more work going into Swerve going into the pay-per-view, if Swerve was a little bit hotter going into the pay-per-view, if I had any kind of trust that Swerve had a hotter program than Christian coming out the pay-per-view, maybe he does, maybe Hangman turns up and all is forgiven. But it's a really risky game for him to. Going into the pay-per-view when he won the belt, he was fighting for air to be the most important thing on that. And now he's on the TV every week, fighting for air to be the most important thing on TV. And he's going to be the same in his first pay-per-view. He already feels like a B-level champion. And I won't raise my breath going on about it again, but being this fighting champion who takes on all comers just defines him lower again, because that's what the TNT belt is for. That's what, the international belt has been used for in the past as well. Doesn't elevate you, mate. Doesn't make you a tippy-top guy. It's a really dangerous game. So once you combine all those factors together to bring it back to the pay-per-view, then what's actually the main event? And really, is there anything there out of that list that makes you feel like, oh, it's a big pay-per-view coming up? Not really. Just feels like we're going to be very quickly in this run of there's just monthly AEW pay-per-views, and none of them are as important as they used to be. And that was the last thing they could always hang the hat on, JP. We joke about, is AEW WCW 2000? There's many metrics why they're not. Pay-per-view is the biggest one. That's starting to slip this year. And is that going to continue to happen?
I think this is we spoke about it, it's been almost years ago. It was, we're going to take away stories and we're going to put in belts instead, because belts create their own stories. And I think this is the natural outcome of it. But there's a load of championships on there, and you don't really give a shit about any of them at the end of the day, because it's like boxing with having 4 world champions at a division. It's like, well, unless they fight each other. And why don't they fight each other? Oh, it's politics basically. And you're going to go, yeah, people not wanting to lose to other people. Like, I'm not saying that's necessarily the case with all of the titles here, but it is like a way of like trying to kind of like, it's almost like you placate people and go, we're going to give a card or a belt while he's there. And it's like, that now doesn't mean, it doesn't mean anything in all of this. And you want them on their pay-per-views to kind of almost, if there was a better plan, you would have said at the last show, okay, we're defending these belts on this one, but we're saving all of these belts for this next show on here as well. And we're not going to do title defenses on TV. So at least then they had special. But what do we see most weeks on TV? What's the chance on the Dynamite after this Double or Nothing? Swerve defends his title again against, I don't know, fucking Jeff Cobb turns up, whatever. Like just some weird shits and giggles match. It's what we're getting is a load of like that type of stuff, and this is where the kind of laziness of the booking, and I think this is the whole bigger issue with AEW in terms of some of the storylines, just not grabbing people, because it's a story where this person wants the belt, and the question I should be asking is which fucking belt? There's loads of them, like, and that's really kind of where it is. These two don't like each other. It's for like, and at least you'd imagine the Elite storyline, for all of the problems I generally have with it, it's not about a fucking belt. It's about something worse to a degree, like
I was gonna say,
EVP's controlling the company.
No, but look,
it's not a fucking belt. All of it is pretty uninspiring, and I can't think there's a surprise that there's not people turning up in the arenas. It's not particularly over, and we're starting to see perhaps the sliding scale of pay-per-views where we get that core 100,000. But maybe for a slightly bigger show like an All In, it does get raised. But a lot of this stuff, it's, you know, it's like the villain in The Incredibles said, like, you know, by making everyone special, nobody is, and that's kind of, I think that's a lot of the position that we're in at this point. Yeah,
that's why you need a hierarchy. You need certain things to be more important than others, certain belts to be more important than others, certain wrestlers when they're hot to be protected and made more important than others. Things in your silly wrestling universe should mean things, and I think that's the overwhelming thing with AEW right now. There's lack of, feels like in our audience and just in general in our types of circles, people just don't feel invested right now. I don't see why you would be coming off the last couple of weeks of TV, really. There's no reason to be invested. There's a lot of just lazy tropes, belts being thrown around, like you say, a fight over power in the company, and not really anything to sink your teeth into, or any reason to invest.
I think the only benefit I took from it was I thought, okay, we're going to get an Okada Ospreay match, an Okada Omega match, and I reckon I'll do it at Wembley because it feels like a use of both of them, and it's like, okay, I get to see it live at least if that happens, if that's there.
It'll be a 6-man tag, mate. Rocky Romero, Okada, and someone else against Kenny, and like
you'll have it after the pay-per-view the week later, singles match.
All out. Yeah, good luck.
Brian Keith will be involved, and he'll be like, what the fuck is he doing here? Why is he wrestling Okada in Wembley?
JP, I haven't heard your thought. What do you think on the Tony Khan getting involved seriously, and like what do you make of all this going on? Because I said on the weekend show I made a bold prediction, and Benno didn't like it at all. We're not that far removed, JP, from Tony Khan and the plan all along. That's where I think that'll go.
No.
I'm telling you, that'll happen. Ben, I'm telling you.
When you said that, I thought, my God, I can see this happening, and I can see it. I know. Do you know why? Because they'll see TV ratings and they'll panic, and this is what I kind of worry. Is that we are in
panic mode, definitely.
Have we hit throwing shit up against the wall and seeing what sticks mode? Because that's the most terrifying mode of all. That's Vince Russo mode. That's the world which he lives in. Rather than the common sense, right, let's sit back. Ratings are falling. House show attendances aren't great. What do we do? Dare I say, and I'll throw out a wild idea, why not go to Europe rather than places which you have run into the fucking ground and people don't want to turn up or make noise looking at you, Winnipeg? Even when you got Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho both fucking from there, and again, they hate one of them, and they really didn't react that much to the other. And he's been away for fucking months. Like, it's insane. Like, this is nuts. Like, go to Europe. See these French lads behind me for video viewers as well. Get that. bit of that and fucking
Europe.
No,
Australia, maybe, I don't know.
Trust me, they'll be singing Brian Keith songs, and he'll look completely bemused by the whole experience. But at least people will care. But I'd also say, if you're trying to flog your TV product as well, that needs to be part of the thought of like, hang on, this brand is global. They've just gone to Manchester and they've sold the Carp Arena. Joke there is they'll never get inside it, but that, like, all of that, like, they've managed to draw like these kind of big, did it on a slightly smaller level. Yeah, my annoyance with that Winnipeg crowd was just like, I was just like, for fuck's sakes, we can hear what pints they're ordering.
No,
in
JP,
fact, Matty, in fact, Matt, if you'd been there with your arse how it is in tonight, and there, would have heard it on the fucking telly.
No, JP, I had the shout. I forgot to say it.
For the pre-show
Jesus Christ! Yeah.
I forgot to say it on the weekend show. I text Benno saying, didn't I? I had the line saved, and I never do that. I never make like lines down to say. But JP, it was familiar because in the Samoa Joe match against who did wrestle on the Dynamite last week, wherever it was, you know, the way, like, at least in WWE, when they have monologues in matches, the camera actually focuses on the actual face so you can hear what they're saying. It was a wide shot. It was a wide shot camera, and you could still hear what he was saying in the ring. I was like, that's bad. That's a really bad sign, JP. Really bad.
I mean, that happens in all wrestling shows.
No, not as bad, Benno. No, it was embarrassing.
It's happened in the New Japan shows. It happens in AEW shows. It happens in lots of wrestling shows. No. That's not unique to them.
Echo throughout the arena, mate. Proper echo. Like they were in a cave down below. It was that echoey. Bad.
Again, it was a very busy venue. It was just a shit crowd, that one, so it's not a great example, but okay. But yeah, this is the man for them in Europe, JP. I'm with you on that. Fake news, Matthew, over there. But yeah.
So, if I'm fed pilled, you get your AEW hat off in that sense, because it was, Ben. It was
nobody is more critical than us than AEW. Don't start that.
I didn't say JP. Said you.
Yeah.
Oh no,
we're literally in the middle of a segment where we're burying AEW. Like, I'm not burying them enough, apparently, by making up lies. Anyway. Anything more on AEW, JP, or anything more on the pay-per-view coming up? And not really to say about the TV is from last week, really. Like, so we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, and I thought, like, I would be in general agreement. However, that angle, the Kenny Omega angle and stuff, I really enjoyed it.
Very good. It was very good.
I'm worried at some point that the phrase "I'm a Jack Perry guy" is going to be kind of uttered by one of us on this podcast. But that shit-eating grin, mate.
He's been good.
Yeah.
The shit-eating grin. It's almost like, mate, you might well have found it. This is the guy you need to be for a while.
Definitely.
Like, and you need to be a complete arsehole. And the hit in the tummy as well. Because we were talking about it. We're convinced he was out till 2025. I think it was like when he undid the shirt and he was like, oh, he's in good nick here, Ken. And he's all right. He doesn't look like a bloke. No, I'm going to be retiring me. What? Retiring while doing motions. Yeah, he did all of that well. So I was like, oh, okay. I just wish he got a better response. But
yeah,
I
would more from the crowd, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we've got Dynamite coming up this week. Got Adam Copeland versus Brody King, Orange Cassidy, Trent Beretta, and to pay off that long bill feud, Mariah May versus Harley Cameron, Swerve and Christie. They're going face to face. Serena Deeb is going to speak, and then we get the treat of all treats: Chris Jericho and Big Bill in action. Not exactly, maybe. On top, obviously, Kenny appearing helps a little bit, but again, whether that angle goes in a direction I want to see.
It's got to be a schmaz that Cassidy and Trent and save it for the pay-per-view and a gimmick. It's got to be. I can't believe they're doing that. As you said, they've actually started it and then given it a week later or 2 weeks later. Got to drag to the pay-per-view for me, that one, lads.
Throwing shit out there, seeing what sticks.
Where we are to the level we're at with AEW right now. Outside of that, only other AEW notes. It's kind of an AEW note as throw in a last story as Ric Flair has made a cunt of himself this week. Has everyone seen the CCTV footage of him in this restaurant? He took to his Twitter, didn't he, to kick off about how he was going to spend $1,500 at this pizza restaurant, and that he'd been so hard done by. He's never been treated so badly in his life, and apparently it was something to do with him taking too long in the bathroom. He said again, running theme during this this recording tonight. But yeah, since then, footage has come out and it's him acting a drunken cunt. Calling me surprised, JP, and not coming across well at all. In it, he was trying to challenge the restaurant manager to a fight. Did not look good, but of course it's Ric Flair, so he's going to take to his Twitter and fight his corner. He's also been in the news as well as apparently he's making up. He's in full telling lies mode as he's claiming that he made $39,000 from offsetting Metro Boomin's Ric Flair drip, and that the other parties made $48 million. But you fucking go that in the modern music world to make $48 million off a streaming track. But even if that's true, the thing that he's leaving out, he's in the video. He's not on the fucking song. It's just called Ric Flair Drip. What's he on about? Do you think he did a verse? I think he's on it. Like, do you think he's on Spotify? He's not. He's just got his name on it. He's not getting paid for that, Rick, you know. He's lucky he got the 39 grand if that's even true. But yeah, you know, to the point, just his name being attached to AEW even in the first place is just embarrassing this week. He's doing a tour of the media right now, JP.
Oh, he was. I mean, I did hear the thing about him having on Rampage Jackson's podcast where he was saying about he had a heart attack as well during his last match.
Oh yeah, seen that. Yeah.
Which like makes me suggest that there's a thing where he's going to come back and have another last match. And it's going to be like almost trying to sell it on, well, is it all going to go badly wrong? Like it's a fucking magician playing, like Darren Brown doing Russian roulette back in the day on Jersey or wherever he did that. It's a while ago now at this point. But to say with that Ric Flair drip, unless they're smuggling cocaine, there's no song that's making 48 million. Not even if you had some sort of like fucking North Korean mind control at work and everyone was forced to religiously listen to it. 48 fucking minutes. Just shit talkers, these wrestlers, aren't they? Just absolute bullshit merchants.
That's all right.
Sorry, I'm still angry from the Titanic talk about 2 hours ago.
That's a great song for Ric Flair Drip as well. And to be fair, if he only got paid 39,000, then he should be fucking made up because it made him relevant for a few months. He got that out of it. You know, he was on the talk show circuit doing all hands with Offset and Metro Boomin. But yeah. Flair is going to flare, and that's why you shouldn't have someone like that attached to your company. Please, Tony, don't sign Jerry Lawler. I don't think it's going to happen, but all bets are off now that Lawler has happened. But unless there's anything else on AEW, we should get into the rest of what we've been watching this week. Got a few shows from Japan to talk about, as well as documentary corner as well. But managed to catch a little bit of Under Siege, Matty, from TNA at the weekend. What did you see from the show?
I seen Mustafa Ali versus Ace Austin, my main man Ace Austin. Same match, JP, don't you? You've seen my friend. But I know you guys are not really big on Ali, but I thought this was the best he's been in a while by all accounts, and I really enjoyed this one. I'd go 4 stars on it. I mean, because I really thought Ace Austin brought something out in him, and it had everything for me. It had good moves, high flying to the outside, good bit of selling from Ace as well. JP had that shenanigans at the end as well, which played into the finish in that. I thought this was really enjoyed this match.
Do you know what? I would say it is probably as much fun as I've had watching Mustafa Ali, which is probably damning with faint praise, really, in this. I'd be like 3.75 if we're gonna split the difference for it as well. It was more because he was in there with Ace Austin. And Ace Austin feels like he's such like a forgotten part in so many things in TNA. And there's a guy who, frankly, they should have been going with him as a proper world title contender about 3 years ago. It feels like to be that far along because he kind of looks the part. And Mustafa Ali. I mean, he had like the overbooking stuff and a lot of the like interference and everything else. But I kind of enjoyed it. And and I think it was more about I felt higher on Ace Austin than I did Mustafa Ali. And it might be because of that story of you seeing him at TNT and he had like the bum bag and he was probably writing down how many t-shirts he sold.
He had the little book. He had that book and he was marking off literally every penny he had. Plus, I bought a signed Ace card off him, but I took my own Ace from my own pack of cards, and he signed that as well. So I know I've been big on Ace Austin for years now, and it looked like he motivated Ali more to come out and have this type of match that he had years ago, didn't he? In the Cruiserweight Classic and stuff like that. He was doing these types of matches, but it had more selling in this one as well, and the way he took Ace Austin's fold, Ali, I've got to give him credit. He landed right on the top of his head. I mean, that was a great sell, but yeah, really enjoyed this. And as you say, JP, Ace Austin still in the same position he was in 4 years ago, is a bit criminal. Really, he should be at least having shots for the world title and stuff like that. But Matt Hardy's there instead, isn't he, getting these shots, JP? Who are we to be behind someone like Ace Austin?
Mike Bailey's tag team partner.
Yeah, Bailey, Trent Seven, and Matt Hardy, JP. What do you think about that as a trio?
I watched them walk out on the stage, all of them doing the delete thing, and I went off. And I went, that's it. I'm not watching that main event. I don't need to. As well, 23 minutes and 49 seconds of my life that I've saved. I'll take that. That's a win for me.
Even Nick Nemeth, who's not everyone's cup of tea, you've brought him into the company as all right, your new fresh face, big star. Even he's endorsing Matt Hardy coming in. It's what's going on? What is going on? What year is it? What are we doing here? And I know he is a legend probably from years back, but at this point, getting world title shots and that, if he's a part doing bits with Con and PCO, all right, I'd hate it, JP, but at least I wouldn't be, this is a prominent part, main event of your company. He'll get the shot at the pay-per-view as well, won't he? Coming up, is it Rebellion? What the fuck is going on?
What's the chances that Jeff Hardy's not under contract at that time as well, and he turns up after the match?
They're to bring him back on AEW TV, which is what's scared me. Let's just wheel them both off. They're better off in TNA, even there. They can fit there.
No, it is, Ben, but for all these stop starts TNA and having, we say it all the time, and even I'm saying it now, agreeing with you guys. It's how many steps forward did he take? Then it's more back, JP, all the time. Honestly,
it's such a boring thing to say, but it doesn't make it any less true.
Yeah,
the reason why TNA shows got that much praise from us over recent years is, what did they have? They had a solid world title match. They'd have a good X Division title match, and the women's title match would always be good. What's Jordan Grace doing on this show? She's in a mixed tag teaming up with PCO against Con and Steph DeLanda. I don't think she is actually the champion. I think it is actually Steph DeLanda. Even so, why is that happening?
The champ, JP. They're going at the pay-per-view.
Are they?
Yeah, right. But on this though, that mixed tag was just.
I just refused to watch it. I went, nope, not having any part of that. X Division title match, good.
Yeah.
World champion, where is it? He's in a 6-man tag match. So you go, all right, where's Josh Alexander? He's in a tag match. Where's fucking
Hammerstone was on there, really?
In the same tag match. Got time for an Ash by Elegance versus Havoc match. Jesus Christ.
Is Jonathan Gresham an actual octopus now? Is that his gimmick? What
he's changed his gimmick, hasn't he? I haven't seen it properly, but I've seen bits on Twitter as well. He's going full character now, isn't he? Yeah.
He
looks like I'm going to bring it up. It looks like he's literally an octopus now. Is that where we are? Are we in the WWF mid-90s gimmicks? Is there a plumber being wheeled out next? What is going on? Look at this.
It's got a face like someone from a late 80s horror film. In terms of that mask as well. If you saw him crawl out of your toilet or something like that, I don't know, in Critters 3, you wouldn't be fucking surprised. But it's just mate, it's awful. It's not going to make any difference as well.
No.
Awful stuff. It's like they're making the worst of all components. Maple Leaf Wrestling cannot come along soon enough. Or the hope is maybe Scott D'Amore comes in there and buys it or whatever. But fuck me, since he's gone, it's hard not to argue this company is just fallen off a fucking cliff.
Well, hasn't Tommy Dreamer got the book, JP? Has he got the book?
Hasn't he? Shit, mate.
Oh, mate.
I know you've never been a fan.
I know it is me saying keep him off telly and keep him behind the scenes, but not as the fucking booker. Maybe someone to go and get advice off, probably. Oh, my God.
Well, maybe when Sandman caned him round the fucking head, he pissed off on the booking side of his brain. It's never quite fixed itself. Shit. More of which are on. There we go.
Well, you're not encouraging me to go out and watch the show. I did try to watch that match because I heard Matty give it praise, but did manage to get it finished in the end. But yeah, not much else on that pay-per-view is massively appealing to me from the Impact verse right now. But yeah, on that note, we should get to Japan. Do you stick around for Japan chat? Have you seen this? Have you seen the Sandman documentary, Matty? Have you seen Dark Side of the Ring?
No, I haven't. I've got
seen it then, to be honest. Should we quickly do that before you go? Just to say, it is fucking like it is literally just if I said to you, Matty, spend 40 minutes talking about the Sandman's career, that would give me the amount of like behind the scenes and intricacy that this episode of the Dark Side of the Ring gave me this week, JP. Like, I literally learned nothing that I couldn't have learned.
Everything we knew already.
Yeah, thinking about Sandman for 40 minutes, I would have pulled out everything they covered on that show.
The Gigolo stuff was lost on me. At the very, very beginning. That was the only thing that I learned from this. And really, it was like, well, what does Tyler Fullington look like grown up? Nothing like he did as a kid. Those blonde locks, mate.
It took me a few minutes to realise that's who that was supposed to be. I will say there is that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like some kind of a bloke. But it was all of exactly the same.
Was it the big revelations, JP, that he was bladdered his entire run in ECW? Was that the big revelation? He's
the first man to ever bleed before a match. Check. Definitely not true. Also, he goes by the name Hack. Everyone calls him Hack. Yeah, we know that. He watched WCW, mate. What away. There's a weird bit in it, JP, where they go off on how when he got to WCW, he got on the steroids. And all the talking heads are like, yeah, it was the first time he was ever jacked in his career. And it's like, they then show footage and it's like, I mean, his t-shirt looks a bit baggier, but I don't really see a difference. Like, I mean, maybe he's in better shape, but like, I don't know.
Only time he was sober, though, wasn't it?
I think you've got to do steroids and go to the gym. You can't just do steroids. Yeah. You need that combination.
I can't just get a load of steg, inject it in my arse, and all of a sudden I'm just a walking fucking six-pack. I think there's an element of I've got to do some degree of work to earn these muscles as well at the same. I mean, otherwise, what was the documentary Pain and Gain watched for? In that case, not to learn that highly valuable lesson. Oh yeah, exactly. Which in some ways the Rock's character sort of becomes like Sandman after a while, isn't he? He's like in the steg, and he also likes a bit of the blow as well at the same time. It's kind of wrestling story 101, isn't it? That he was like all over the place, him getting into a fight at a wedding and things like that. And you mentioned about like the steroids bit. I found funny. Like you say, he's so bad. He's just wide. He's just like this really fucking wide bloke. It's very, very weird. I'm amazed, I have to say, how well he looks.
I was going to say, JP, it's a mystery, like, throughout all this, what he said, that he's still going, and he looks as good as he does, to be fair to him. Yeah, genuinely there.
As well. And it's yet another show, and I saw this being brought up by Post Wrestling when John and Way were talking about this as well. It's another show where it gets into domestic abuse, because obviously we had the Chris Adams one that was very much like heavily based around like the kind of like domestic abuse, the Harley Race one as well at the same time, and like this one, you would say that he's got a relationship with Laurie. I was
impressed she was on there. To be fair.
I was going to say, was she on at JP? Yeah,
and his kids were like brutally honest about this as well. I would say that's one of the like beneficiaries on it. And then Raven turns up, and obviously the bullshitometer. It's very much like, hold my beer, David Manning. I'm here to tell some lies. And there he is, the fucking walking smart ass that he is.
I was going to say, JP, the IQ not jumping off the screen, though.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't handle it. I don't think the screen could cope with the size of his fucking brain because he's just too damn clever.
They do casually talk about like cutting some of those promos where, like, to be fair, they talk about like, you know, going to the shows during that feud when, you know, Laurie was on Raven's side, and like getting in different cars and not wanting to be seen by anyone. It's like, you're in ECW, like we all knew it wasn't real. What are you on about? Like, but anyway, they were trying to sell it, and like, literally it'd be like the middle of the night, and like Sandman and Raven would be like, time to cut a promo. And they get the poor kid out of bed like at 2 a.m. All right, promo time. And they showed one of the ones, you know, he does the quote the Raven Nevermore line where he's like stood in the garden. He's like, yeah, and then Yeah, he was like, if I look shattered, that's why, because then they let me go back to bed after that. Fucking hell. That's him in ECW, but yeah, he'd be shocked to learn that, and shocked to learn apparently a lot of drugs in the ECW locker room, it was everywhere. It was like a candy store, mate, apparently. All those old lines,
really?
they were all in there. Yeah, I know. Wouldn't believe it based on the wrestlers that were there, but still. But yeah, I didn't really feel like there was much revelation there. I guess it was a fun 40-odd minute trip down memory lane, but yeah. I don't think it was worth an episode, this one, for me, JP. I don't know if you feel any more positive on it.
Not really. I will always have the ECW nostalgia, but because of music rights, it's not like they show the one part of his act that was always... That interest was cracking, and it was cracking because of Metallica and everything. Like, it was just like, that was like the perfect theme tune and everything else, which you don't hear that played once. It is. I'm also noticing as well, as the season goes on, with some of these episodes to get up, the actors they're getting to portray them are just getting wackier and wackier and wackier, like the recreations. I've never seen someone do a line of blow the way that this guy was just like. It was like almost like he was hoovering. It was like the length of the fucking chest of drawers. And he's just like, afterwards.
That's what they were up to in the 90s. It was a different time, JP, you know?
There's some proper late 90s behaviour going on. Proper.
The other thing that stuck out to me as well, I was like, I don't know if I'm just stupid, but you know, he used to do a surfer gimmick. And like, yeah, he was a surfer, therefore he was the Sandman. Oh, fuck, is that where that came from? I never made it. And you used to be a surfer, and you people than he had. But it took them to say it like that. It was a bit like when my mate's mum referred to what I used to call sausage rolls as sausage rolls. And I was like, oh, sausage rolls? That's what they're called? I get it now. It's not just one word. Maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. But the Sandman, he likes the sand because he's a surfer. Mind blown, Matty.
Oh, mate, that's amazing, that. But they used to wear, what were they called, JP, them pants, though, that, like, to the surfer, not Zubars, is that right? Zubars. What were they called? Them stripy, were they right? Yeah. Oh, mate, just taking that back, but Ben, yeah, that. To be fair, mate, I've never actually thought of that myself, to be fair. Just
once he said, oh, yeah, obviously. You know,
yeah. But then, yeah, fair enough.
I think his original name was Mr. Sandman. So it came from. To be fair, I didn't realize the Singapore Kane thing was like a news story in the 90s, JP.
I remember that.
Where that came from. I just thought he always had it. I didn't realize it was Paul Heyman watching the news and going, we'll make that our weapon on our show. Sandman tells the story of him literally pulling one off the branch of a tree and going, here's the weapon. That felt like bullshit. But outside of that, yeah, interesting tidbit, I guess.
Oh, pulled off a tree. I mean, he would say, like, he does say himself, I used to build shit as well. So, I mean, I'm assuming he sanded that down as well, but whether or not he was sober enough to do what seems to be quite decent level carpentry, I'm very fucking dubious on there. Or maybe they just bought it. Like it is a Billy Bullshit special, this one.
Another reason he was called the Sandman, because he's got the sanded stuff, see? All works, all fits together. But yeah,
I also Cairo named for? Did he go on holiday there once to Egypt? Did he watch The Mummy? What? Like, I mean, how does this work?
Tom says here it came up in Rise and Fall of ECW. No, I don't remember that at all, but maybe we'll revisit that at some point. But I did just quickly, I watched the Sherry one as well. I don't know if you saw that one, Matty, after we talked about it last week. That was definitely a better documentary. I found no reason to go over the stuff from last week, but yeah, I'd agree with you. It's a tragic one, that one. That she wasn't involved in wrestling longer in her life. The real life stuff with her son, and the fact that her son is brought up by a second mum who seems to get on with Sherry, and the son's clearly got his own health concerns. But yeah, that whole balance. It was interesting because it was the other side, because you're used to male wrestlers who don't look after the family and they're on the road doing drugs and stuff. But it was Sherry as a mum doing it, essentially the reverse. And obviously the stuff about it getting into the WWE Hall of Fame and not seeing it as a positive, just seeing it as the end again. Quite a different spin on the story, I suppose, seeing it from like a female point of view, and how quickly a woman can be thrown out of the business when she hits her 40s. All of that stuff was very interesting. So watch that one. I'd say, Matty, what you said last week was definitely true.
Always like Sherry, and she's another one of those figures, JP, and she, like most people, seem to have good memories of Sherry, as in the business, and that, like, as fans.
Jumped off the screen, didn't they?
Yeah, she was brilliant. Like, so I will check that one out for sure.
Great stuff.
Yeah. As I said last week, I was more astonished by how little I knew about like a kind of like personal story.
Yeah, I don't know much at all.
So that'll be a thing. That'll be fun. I say be fun.
Yeah.
It's dark
Yeah,
side of the
I
ring.
know what you mean, mate.
It'll be interesting to find out about it.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, we're going to jump into Japan, so unless you want to stick around, Matty, unless you've watched that you want to throw up before we let you go.
No, I haven't watched that, unfortunately, guys. I'll leave that up for JP.
Not watched All In Together now, or any All Japan, or Noah,
no, mate.
Kiyomiya, no?
Been too busy recording podcasts, Ben, and watching all the old work for them, mate, to be fair.
If it happened in 1998, you might have seen it. But,
yeah, I might have, mate. But listen,
I'll let you know,
boys, thanks for having me on as always. And listen, I'll
Yes,
I will listen to the rest, JP. So you might talk me into watching some of these matches, mate. So
fair enough. I'd say if now I know you're going to listen, I won't slag it off, but I'll probably slag it off more. So look forward to listening to that, mate.
Of course you will. You do it all the time.
Done with love, mate.
Maybe the fact that Matty's leaving during Japan does give credence to the idea that his penalty is to watch the G1. He has to watch.
Yeah, don't be pushing this one, mate.
I reckon watch a full 3 hour Raw might be my threat. You know?
Oh, here we go. He started before I've even gone.
I said it while you're on air, at least. You know,
yeah, at least, yeah,
give me credit. Anyway,
right, boys.
You Dynamite fan, Matty. We'll get you Dynamite thoughts.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'll be on the Discord every Thursday night now with the AEW thoughts, Benno. So I'm in. I'm all in to see this big storyline.
I will.
But listen,
right. See you, man.
Cheers, mate.
Ta-ra, mate.
Well, there's not a huge amount to get into, JP, from Japan. It says everything that New Japan has been pushed to this, and everything else going on in this entire continent, country section. But this is where we are with New Japan. How much did you see of the shows for the weekend? As I literally scramble for my notes to remind myself that it's Dontaku we're about to talk about. I watched night 2 for my sins today. That's how memorable it was. Fuck. We got 2 things on the notes: Moxley retaining his title and the Gabe Kid show. In your words, JP. Yeah. Outside of that, straight past me and over me. I don't know. Any talking points you could pull out of that?
I mean, I would say, God, it's no surprise that New Japan are kind of in the state of what they are as well. And I said earlier on about a comment about how Cody Rhodes is probably one of the best, clearly the best book world champion in the world because of, we had a very throwaway John Moxley title defense that was entirely ruined by House of Torture. And it just feels like a waste of everybody's time in a match that he was never going to lose. I don't know if he got injured, he'd be losing that title to Ren Narita. But it was desperate. I think they're the only things you kind of take away from it are some kind of brief news notes on it. I mean, I don't know about you, the standout highlight match of by almost like a country mile. It was like an oasis in the desert of New Japan. Is Shingo, or should I say Shinto to Takagi? I forget.
Or Jeff Cobb. Was it Jeff Cobb that Chris Charlton called him? I think he called him Jeff Cobb. He was like Kid and Cobb, and I was like, hang up, what?
And
something in the water this week.
Jeff Cobb was sat beside him, wasn't he? He was watching the match with him. He was doing the commentary.
That was why.
That ELP on, so it was like Chris Charlton doing the main. Even Walker Stewart couldn't be asked. It made me feel like he'd already pulled a bunk in there as well at the same time. But Shingo Takagi and Gabriel Kidd, which just made you hark back for a simpler era where there was just a never open weight match. And what was it? It was 2 lads beating the shit out of each other for 15 minutes. It
had the typical hot Shingo finishing stretch. You can picture it in your head, 1,000,000 miles an hour, back and forth. But interestingly, gave that to Gabe Kidd. This was, does Shingo have many off days? But this was Shingo on an on day, giving Gabe Kidd probably one of Gabe Kidd's best matches. Oh yeah, by a country mile. Still, don't know if I didn't break the 4 barrier, but the crowd were loud as well. The crowd were going crazy for the finishing stretch of it as well. That's probably the biggest praise you can give it. And yeah, Gabe Kidd seems to be someone who is maybe taking advantage of the fact that there's a lot. It feels like he's in he's just in a place where there's not many. It's a bit like a Punk knocking around WBHQ, and there's I don't know if you've seen those Instagram videos over the weekend where he was claiming he got locked in there. So he's going around finding paperwork. He found a copy of the WrestleMania card from the year when he was supposed to face Triple H, but it's just a strange man knocking around an empty building. A lot of ghosts in that building. That's what Gabe Kidd feels like. To pull the analogy out, just feels like everyone else is gone, and he's just helping himself to what is left in New Japan, and half of the act is kind of going on Twitter and telling everyone that New Japan's shit and that the people in charge don't know what they're doing. But we all kind of know that, so it kind of works, and he is grabbing it with both hands. And as far as an in-ring performance, you can't say he's not delivering on the strength of this as well. He's got something there out of not much else going on.
I think that's it, and I think the fact it's not a nice that Alex Coughlin retired, but he's not in a tag team. And he is one of their guys, ultimately. He's a dojo graduate. And I think there's that point where, at this point in time, he shouldn't be anywhere else. Even though as much as we'll moan about New Japan and say about things not being good, he's more likely to shine and succeed there. And the crowds there they react to him. Because effectively, he's kind of like, it's not Bruiser Brody trashing the place or anything else, but it is very much in that lineage of kind of basically Nutter in Japan. And that's the kind of route that he follows down there. And he is immature because his character's immature. So it all kind of makes sense, at least. And like I say, I'd go 4 stars. It wouldn't be like my match of the week, but I thought it was fun to watch. And it just reminded me of oh yeah, there would have been a point in time, 2017, 2018, they'd have a match like this casually involving the Never title. That'd be 4th from the top. And we'd really enjoy it. And they'd have these at Wrestle Kingdom as well. And now it feels like, Jesus Christ, you hark back to that era. And it just, for this one title and this type of match, it just fit the aesthetic perfectly as well. Shingo having to break out all of the kind of the big moves in order to beat him. And he's facing Eddie Kingston next weekend at Resurgence for the New Japan Strong title. Surely he's getting that. That's his.
You would think so.
You would think so. And it makes sense for him to do it because you've done as much. What's Eddie Kingston going to do with that title? As you don't want that to be the millstone, and it'd be something for Gabe Kidd to do as well. But it's what is New Japan Strong though at this stage? It's just, it's a weird one.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched the Dolph Ziggler versus David Finlay match. Found that a bit of a slog. Ziggler's trying. He's trying, but it makes New Japan feel less of that. And when the story is, he's a guy who came from WWE and got immediately given a title shot and then immediately won a title, and Dave Finlay's essentially the babyface for taking it back off him and putting it back on a New Japan guy, things are backwards. But yeah, 3.25 I'd probably give it. They worked hard, but wasn't really for me.
He wants to be there, and you can tell that he's enthused by it, but really, in many ways, it's just above what they did with Matt Riddle, where they put a title on him to just take it back off him. And you're going, was there any point in all of that? And however many tens of thousands he was paid for the privilege of this, it's not just a gigantic waste of everybody's time when he can just leave the belt on someone in the first place. Rather than, he doesn't appear to have a plan. It's just he's got our belt and he loses it back. So we can have a title change. And it was all done very last minute. It wasn't meant to be on there. It was meant to be a tag match, wasn't it? Involving Tanahashi and things like that. But that never seemed to be the case as well. So it's very, very weird.
Any notes on the main event? Moxley retained?
Shit. I mean, I had it on and I was just losing the will to live. I think there might have been a couple
to watch.
There might have been a couple of minutes where it was normal wrestling and then House of Torture ruined it. And Ren Narita is just too bad a position, and it's just I'll just cut to the chase. And he's having his match with Shota in the US, which is there where I don't know. It's very weird. I have to say for the John Mox, what are we doing with this? He's had a match with Powerhouse Hobbs. That's his first title defense. Power Hobbs get injured. This is the second one. Don't get me wrong. I've Shota Umino has grown on me. I think particularly since the Ospreay match that he had, I thought was absolutely fucking tremendous before Ospreay left. But again, it's a Moxley type. Do something with it. You've got him here. It's that's not the best you can do. Is Ren Narita. You could dare I say, you'd have him in there normally with something like a fucking Shingo. You do a fucking interesting kind of match that feels like it's got a bit of stakes to it, rather than Ren Narita where the result was just never in doubt. And it's just Jesus, it's gonna be again the 23 minutes I saved with that TNA main event ended up ultimately being lost on this New Japan one.
the only take I've got, it's just not worth it. Like for anyone, it doesn't feel like right now. I guess the IWGP title gets to be featured on AEW, and maybe it's a means to an end to do something at Forbidden Door. But like obviously, New Japan hardcores don't seem happy about it because Moxley's defending it against fucking Hobbs and probably like Trent Barretta and people like that over on American television, which doesn't really jive with what's going on in Japan. And then to come to Japan to work a match like this, like the people who've got him queued up to wrestle just aren't that interested. Like, I don't believe Shota's going to beat him. I think that's just another match for match's sake. I think the big thing is going to be whatever they do with him at Forbidden Door, which is presumably going to be him against an AEW talent, I would guess. It's all just a bit, it feels after the horses bolted a bit. Like, this would be exciting 2 years ago. This would be exciting 3 years ago. Now, who's it for?
Yeah, who is it for? Like, I don't know. And these are the general things where I think you just look at New Japan and go, what does it need? Ultimately, it needs a complete change of creative direction. Like, it's gone. It's gone, like, and I'm saying we're past the last few years of Arsene Wenger's reign, in Ghetto Wenger's reign. Like, we're well past. Imagine if he was in charge of Arsenal now, because that's where they are. Like, at this point, it feels like if they're in charge of Arsenal, if he was in charge of Arsenal right now, they'd be like lower, like mid-table, and that's where fucking New Japan are. Like, they're not only the junior partner in a relationship with fucking New Japan. Jeez, I think MLW probably think, hang on a minute, we're like on parity with these lads now. It's I'm taking the piss, obviously, but it's incredibly dispiriting.
Yeah,
and they put the tag belts on Chase Owens and fucking Ken.
It's funny at a time when WWE's doing well, but isn't always for us. At a time when AEW is kind of lacking inspiration. You can't really turn to New Japan, can you? Because it's been in this sorry state for a very long time, and they're at the bottom too. Yeah. Not a lot of bright spots around the wrestling world. Although that All In Together Now show, I think that's what they call, or is that just the song with Fred Durst and Method Man? I'm not sure. Apparently that was good, but obviously that is, like you say, with the £20 price tag, hasn't made it to anywhere accessible to cheapos like us at this point. So we haven't seen that. But what else have you seen from Japan, JP? What else has been going on as I go ahead?
Well, I would suggest, a match that I really, really enjoyed. I'd say go out of your way to watch it. You can find it on YouTube. And this was, and again, I wasn't even aware of this show being on as a Wrestle Magic that Noah were running. They were running Budokan for reasons.
Missed out on the pre-show.
I know. I should have put it on there, and it was headlined by it was Kaito Kiyomiya. It's the end of the shit story, or is it? Because no doubt he'll be robbed of the belt yet again after 3 weeks and made to look like a fucking chump, because that's always what they do him. But it was him versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., who's been champion for like 90 days. He's been one of the bright spots in Noah, frankly, over the last, of anything I've seen from Noah over the last, kind of 18 months. He's been comfortably the best thing about it. And Kaito won the GHC title in, I think, was like a thoroughly decent match where it became a bit of a shining wizard fest towards the end, and that was a bit kind of overdone. But old Hio, as I'll call him, just to shorten it down, he's cracking. It's like, that guy Galeno Del Mal, the other giant luchador, and you go, hang on a minute, this bloke's kind of got something to him. There's something about El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. He's all right, Hio. He's good.
He's not in the shit sons category then?
No, he's not like the Parkers, lads. Those boys are bollocks. They are rubbish. He's good. I was there thinking, why isn't he fucking in AAA as the main bloke? Sorry, I don't understand this. It's that's where he should be. He should be. And maybe he'll be there now, on the back of this. But you just think they're more likely to use the old fella than they are likely to use the son. And the son's got so much more upside to it in there as well. And he's had a good run with the secondary title, the national title they call it. Then he's gone and lost that to Jack Morris. And again, good run here. I thought it was this was generally a really fun match. I had low expectations. It's 25 minutes, but it kind of moves along at quite a cracking pace. And I was just so pleasantly surprised by it. Yeah, so I enjoyed this. I'd go as far as 4.25. So it wouldn't be like, you know, cool your jets for like, it's not match of the year or anything else. But generally, when there's been a lot of like kind of like average wrestling around the place, like it was good to see something like this. So yeah, that was so. And they put it onto Kota Kiyomiya, and Muto, who was on commentary, obviously came into the ring next afterwards as well. Started doing poses. Kota Kiyomiya was doing his poses in the match, like, you know, the setup for the Shining Wizard, where he's like he's taking the photograph and stuff like that. Right. Just like, mate, I don't fucking care. Like, do your own shit. Like,
he's like Kanye West involved himself in the Drake and Kendrick beef, you know.
Yeah.
Just sees a spotlight on other people and has to get himself involved.
Gets involved.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, and you keep up with the rap stuff going on. More on the pre-show on that. But yeah, unless there's more on that. I know there was some chatting in the match recommendations for that match as well. So yeah, keep that chat coming in the Discord channel we have for that as well. Just quickly, I was going to mention, JP, unless there's anything else, Japan, we do have a little bit of news. I don't know if Brandon Thurston is a live stream viewer, but I asked you the question earlier. What's happening next in the Vince McMahon case? Well, Brandon Thurston has just thankfully just broken some news that apparently all four parties in the Grant v. WWE McMahon Laurinaitis suit have collectively filed a proposed stipulation with various deadline dates for everything that's going to happen next. Apparently, WWE are expected to join, but they haven't. But every other side has, including Vince McMahon, including Johnny Ace, and including the Janelle Grant side. And basically, they've agreed, it looks like, to file any motions to compel arbitration and memoranda of law, which is what the Vince side are doing, by May the 14th. And then opposition to that should be by June the 4th. And then the defendant reply to that should be June the 18th. And they've set those as specific deadlines. So, yeah, at least we know where we are. Should expect to, at least get some movement tail end of May and into June. So, yeah. Maybe somebody asked them after we talked about it earlier.
Fair play, Brandon. Straight off the fucking mark for that. So, yeah. Ties up. And we even got dates into the mix.
Oh, I did mention once that, nice little finally story. Shouldn't make light of it, but did you see the Stormy Daniels stuff today? She took the stand in the Trump case, didn't she? And brought up the comparisons between WWE and porn. Apparently, it was a big conversation that Ed and Donald, because it was around the time that he was doing the WWE appearance, the Lashley WrestleMania, wasn't it, with the head shave?
Yeah,
that was what their bedroom talk was about. The comparisons, and in light of everything else, Vince McMahon's name getting dragged into that case shouldn't be a surprise, but also keeps that name in lights a little bit. But it did at least it made me laugh a little bit.
It did, and I don't think a comparison between the two of saying it's real but it's fake, and you're like, you've kind of summed it up. Maybe Stormy Daniels has been listening to Grappling with Philosophy. In which case, Stormy, fair play. Be interested to see what more she made about that as well. And obviously, if you go to patreon.com/grapple, you'll understand what that reference is about.
She knows. So yeah,
he does.
Hopefully that cunt gets taken down as well. But outside of that, all pretty quiet, really. No other news unless there's anything else from you, JP.
No, not really. I mean, the only thing I would say is a wrap up is like it's very much a JP-less weekend for the last one. So there's some brilliant stuff out there as well. So I implore everyone, if you are listening to this right at the very end, get the cheeky last plugs in there. Patreon.com/grapple. And you've got the LAX versus the OGs, the Patron's Choice as well, the complete history, which is absolutely fantastic. And you also get time up on there. Retro's gone public this weekend, so youtube.com/@grapple. And then we've got the deep cut. Cunt. Nah, sadly, it's called Paul. Triple H in the year 2000.
I'm open to that.
The Origins of a Cunt, I think, is a subtitle in there as well.
IWC Paul.
IWC Paul at this stage, yeah. So we're going to be doing that this weekend, as well as the weekend show and everything else. So, yeah, that's get yourselves over to there and join the Patreon.
That's it. So yeah, that'll be coming up. Obviously, Kurt Angle mixtape towards the end of the month. With, some great picks for that one, is all I'll say at this point. And also we'll have our flashback review coming up of King of the Ring 2001 with a potential guest as well. But more to be revealed in future. I'll leave Matty with that one. But yeah, unless there's anything else, thank you patrons for tuning in live. We are at the start of another month, so yeah, your support is always massively appreciated, and to our YouTube members as well. Like I say, couldn't do it without you folks. So yeah, thank you to our regular patrons, thank you to our live patrons, and thank you to our Kings of the Mountain, Conor Laughlin, Eddie Sarburns, Chris Platt, and Ewan Cameron. And yeah, outside of that, we will catch you again for Spotlight next week.
Bye.
Good night all.